ESPN, the world's leader in motorsports coverage, presents Speed World. Today from North Carolina Motor Speedway in Rockingham, the AC Delco 500 being brought to you by Pontiac. We build excitement. By Quaker State Motor Oil, the big Q stands for quality, always has, always will. By Goodyear Eagle Tires, Goodyear because there really is a difference. And by Budweiser, Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. A cloudless sky overhead at Rockingham, North Carolina as we bring you live the AC Delco 500. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bob Jenkins. There are 3 more races to go in the 88 season. Here at Rockingham, 2 weeks in Phoenix, and then the season finale at Atlanta. Bill Elliott has the points lead coming into this race, but Rusty Wallace is the hot guy. He's eating into that point advantage.
He certainly is. He has gained 50 points in the last 3 races. Of course, he only has 3 races to go, so he'll have to gain more per race than he has in the last 3 races, but he has been the charger. He has come from behind to win the last 2 races. This race, though, has a lot of concern among the top runners because of the length of it. It takes more than 4 hours to run 500 miles here at Rockingham, puts a tremendous strain on the driver and the equipment. Can he charge hard all day long here today? Gary Nelson, how do the crews of those championship running cars prepare for the time of this race?
Well, not only is this a long race, but it's been a long season. The equipment's getting very tired and worn out. But for the crews, especially if you're in the points, it's time to almost get your second win. Get some fresh equipment. Get everybody pumped up. Try and get out there and make that car as fast as it can be, but still be running at the finish. There's been a lot of double checking going on in the garage this morning.
And certainly they have to try to dodge any accidents that may occur in front of them. There's other strategy employed here as they go into this race today. More on that story. Here's Dr. Jerry Punch.
Well, Ned, there are many philosophical differences among the drivers here in the starting grid. A difference in philosophy 1 week ago in Wilkesboro with this driver, Ricky Rudd, garnished him a stiff slap on the wrist and a $6,000 fine from NASCAR for what they termed was over-aggressive driving. Well, a differing philosophy today for Rudd. He is the only driver in the top 10 to qualify on Hoosier tires. Take a look. The billboard says Goodyear, but the rubber is Hoosier. Now, everyone knows Goodyear is the fastest tire here, but Hoosier just may be more consistent. That's what Rudd is banking on. If they go 40, 50, even 60 laps of continuous green flag racing, maybe Rudd, starting back here in 9th spot, will make his way to the front. It could be a tortoise and the hare story. The tortoise back here with the Hoosiers, and the hares up front, the rabbits, are Kowicki and Elliott. Let's move toward the front with my colleague, Dick Berggren.
Bill Elliott starts right in front of Rusty Wallace, just where they are in points. Both men know that they must finish. They must run all day. The point spread means Rusty needs to pick up an average of 30 points per race, and he's only picked up that many on Bill once in the past 8 tries. They'll have some big tire decisions. You're right, tires are a big question. Neither brand in this contest has a clear advantage. Those running for the title join those running only to win this event in facing one of the most demanding events in the series. So much is at stake here, but especially for Elliott and Wallace.
Well, Dick, those 3 remaining Winston Cup races, I suppose, could be defined in the terms of simple, almost childlike games. First of all, there is the domino effect. Whatever the leader of the race does, if he decides to stay it on a late yellow, if he decides to come in and change tires, if he stops him for a splash of fuel, others are sure to follow, particularly if he is one of those 3 people vying for the points championship. This, of course, is Rusty Wallace. His crew chief, Barry Dodson, says it's a game of monkey see, monkey do. Whatever Bill Elliott does, he decides to charge, and he sits back and runs conservatively. If he spins, heck, if he drives to the wall, Barry says, we'll probably follow him. It's that important to keep tabs on the points leader. So it's a matter of Rudd, who will race, Wallace and Earnhardt, who will pace, Wallace and make that Elliott, who will pace, and Earnhardt, who is 200 points behind now, he will chase.
Well, the strategy may be defined in terms of children's games, but there will be no children's games played here this afternoon. It's all-out war among the NASCAR competitors as we get set for live coverage of the AC Delco 500 from North Carolina Motor Speedway in Rockingham. We'll be right back. ESPN Speed World today, live from North Carolina Motor Speedway for the AC Delco 500 Winston Cup race. Here's a look at North Carolina Motor Speedway. It is 1.017 miles in length. The pole time was 24.6 seconds at a speed of 148.359. We'll go 492 laps, and they'll have a fuel stop after about 90 to 95 laps. Here now is the starting lineup for this afternoon's contest. On the pole will be Bill Elliott from Dawsonville, Georgia, driving the number 9 Coors Melling Ford, a new track record, 148.359. Outside, another Ford, Alan Kowicki, the number 7 Xerox Alugard Ford. Alan's from Greenfield, Wisconsin. Going to row number 2, it's Rusty Wallace in the number 27 Kodiak Pontiac. Outside of that second row will be Mark Martin in the number 6 Stroh Light Ford. Then in row number 3, it's Darrell Waltrip in car number 17, the Tide Exxon Superflow Chevrolet, and Davey Allison from Hueytown, Alabama in the Haviland Ford, car number 28. The fourth row is Terry Lamonti, the number 11 Budweiser Chevrolet, and then Brett Bodine in the number 15 Crisco Motorcraft Ford. In the fifth row, it's Ricky Rudd from Chesapeake, Virginia in the number 26 Quaker State Buick, and Greg Sachs from Manitowoc, New York in the number 88 Red Baron Pizza Oldsmobile. The sixth row, Eddie Bierschwale from San Antonio, Texas in the Wade Painting Oldsmobile, car number 23, and Harry Gant in the Skoal Bandit Chevrolet, car number 33. Harry's from Taylorsville, North Carolina. In the seventh row, it's Dale Earnhardt in number 3 and Kyle Petty in 21. Michael Waltrip in 30 and Mike Alexander in number 12 make up row number 8. Going to row number 9, it's Morgan Shepherd in car 57 and Sterling Marlin in 44. In the 10th row, Derry Cope in 68 and Jeff Bodine in car number 5. As you look at the rest of the starting lineup, looked like that Harry Gant had a problem on pit road getting the car going, but I guess it is now.
They did get the car fired. It apparently would not crank. The crew went out on the pit road and raised the hood, did something to it. He has it fired and has taken his place on the grid.
So we have 40 starters going for the 500 miles of competition. Bill Elliott qualifying at 148.359 miles an hour. There you see the last row of Connie Saylor and Ken Bouchard. Our in-car cameras today carried by Dale Jarrett in the Hardee's Oldsmobile. There's a good look at Dale as he sits patiently warming up the car, ready to get the green flag in just a few moments. And we salute Dale and wish him the best of luck. The Hardee's race cam working well. And also we have the camera inside the car of Rick Wilson, the Kodak Oldsmobile, as it also gets set for competition. The cars are on the backstretch, and this time around they should be getting the green flag for 492 laps of racing.
Well, we have a report that the coil wire was loose on the Harry Gant Skoal Bandit Chevrolet, but they were able to fix that. Fortunately, they found it before the race started, so he's in position, ready to charge.
And there will be one more lap before we go to the green flag. This is Bob Jenkins. Rusty Wallace, you got a copy?
Yeah, I got you. Go ahead, Bob.
Rusty, one more lap to green. What's going through your mind right now? Do you charge? Do you sit back?
Just gotta run my normal race, just drive the way I always do, and just hope for the best.
Larry Newber talked about in our opening of the show how you're going to watch Bill Elliott and try to do what he does in terms of pit stops or race strategy. Is that the way you see it?
Not at all. I'm just gonna do what I want to do. He can do what he wants. He might make a mistake that I might not. We can't do that. I just gotta do what my crew tells me and do what's right.
All right, we're with you, Rusty. Good luck as we get set to go.
Okay, thank you.
Bob, I think the comments that Larry Newber were making came from his crew chief, Barry Dodson. He said he's the one that said all of those things. Says if he runs through that first turn wall, then we'll run through that first turn wall. But Gary, we know that's not going to happen.
A lot of psychological things going on between the crews, and you almost a lot of times can expect them to do the opposite of what they say.
All right, now this time we should be getting to green as the Pontiac pace car pulls off of the track and heads for pit road. Here comes the field led by Bill Elliott and Alan Kowicki, and the green flag is out, and we are racing at Rockingham. Bill Elliott grabs the lead going into turn number 1 as Rusty Wallace and Alan Kowicki race side by side for second position down the backstretch. Rusty has grabbed second spot from Alan. Mark Martin has fallen back into 4th spot, and then comes Darrell Waltrip running in 5th position. Here's the completion of lap number 1, and Elliott will lead it.
And of course that means that he picked up 5 bonus points. Anytime you lead when you lead a Winston Cup race, you get 5 bonus points. So Bill Elliott is the only one of the 3 point chasers that has that distinction right now.
The number number 34 car, driven by Connie Saylor, has been black flagged. We saw the black flag flying, did not know for whom it was for, but it is for Connie Saylor, who dropped out of line and tried to gain an advantage before crossing that starting line, and that is a violation. So Connie Saylor will have to come in for a stop-and-go penalty. Meanwhile, down the backstretch, it's the number 9 Coors Melling Ford, driven by Bill Elliott, leads this race, and the number 27 car of Rusty Wallace is running in second spot. The number 26 car, driven by Ricky Rudd, is moving up quickly. There is the number 28 car ahead of him, driven by Davey Allison. So the number 26 car, as we indicated on the Hoosier tires, is trying to pick up spots here in the early going.
And Bobby might be doing it a little bit earlier than some of the other teams expected him to. They thought that the tires really needed to get heated up before the Hoosier tires would really start working, but Ricky Rudd is working well here early.
There is Allison and Ricky Rudd, number 28 and number 26, as Waltrip in the number 17 car gets very high. He did that last lap, and he did this time also, going very high on the racetrack in the first and second turns. Let's see if that's his line here in the third and fourth turn. Yeah, the car drifts a little high, Gary.
Well, you can almost see a little bit of tire smoke coming from Darrell's car. It looks like he's a little bit off on the setup, but as the race goes on, I think we're going to see more and more cars running up high. There's really two distinctive groups here at Rockingham now.
But normally you don't see that high groove come into play until later in the race. But yesterday in a 200-mile Busch Grand National race here, we saw a little bump there as Greg Sachs got into the side of Darrell Waltrip just for a moment. And normally that high groove doesn't come into play, but yesterday it did work in the 200-lap race for some drivers.
Here is the number 33 Skull Bandit Chevrolet, driven by Harry Gant, who had the trouble at the command to start engines as the car just would not fire because of a coil wire. And now the 21 car of Kyle Petty is running below Harry on the racetrack. And again, a little bit of tire smoke from that Wood Brothers Ford, car number 21 with Kyle Petty behind the wheel.
You see a lot of tire smoke here at Rockingham as they come off of the turn. A lot of power that's put to the rear wheels, and they're in an almost sideways position as they come off of there, so you see a lot of tire smoke.
Petty and Harry Gant running side by side as they close in on the 17 car, driven by Darrell Waltrip.
But boy, when you see that much tire smoke, as we saw from Kyle Petty's car that time, you don't want to do that too many laps. Those tires will get heated up and you'll be drifting up towards the wall.
But what we've seen here at Rockingham, especially yesterday during that Grand National race, was the drivers were really coming into play, more so than ever here at Rockingham. A lot of the winner, Harry Gant, and other competitive cars in the race were almost running sideways in the turns. A lot more driving going on, almost dirt tracking here at Rockingham than we've seen in a long time.
Behind the 21 car of Kyle Petty is the number 12 machine, driven by Mike Alexander as he works the low groove now, coming off of the fourth turn. The number 12 car, driven by Mike Alexander, the Bobby Allison car that has been driven very successfully and very gallantly by Mike Alexander in Bobby's absence. And of course, Allison and Alexander and Bobby Hill, and all three have rides with the Stavola brothers next year. Here comes Sterling Marlin into the picture also in car number 44. So we have Gant, actually we have Darrell Waltrip, then Gant, then Mike Alexander, Kyle Petty, and Sterling Marlin, as Marlin now moves below Kyle Petty and tries to pick up another spot. Let's see if he does so successfully here in the first and second turns. Petty goes high, a little bit of tire smoke seen from that car, and Sterling Marlin successfully makes the pass. The lead, meanwhile, is held by the number 9 car, driven by Bill Elliott. And behind him is the number 27 car, driven by Rusty Wallace. But you can see the interval that Elliott has been able to open up in the first 11 laps of this race. We'll be back with more live coverage from North Carolina Motor Speedway in the AC Delco 500 in just a moment. Bill Elliott leads the AC Delco 500 Winston Cup race, and this is the 14th race in a row that Elliott has led. See, he finished 6th here in the race last March here at Rockingham. He is the defending winner of this particular race. He won in the fall event in 1987. Dale Earnhardt in car number 3. We have noticed some tire smoke from that car as it runs high on the racetrack. So Dale Earnhardt may not have the proper setup.
No, he's falling back in the lineup, Bob. He started in 13th position, but he's back about 20th position now, and it just doesn't look like his car is handling. You can see him on the high side of the racetrack, the 3 car up in front of Jeff Bodine in the yellow and white 5 car Levi Garrett Chevrolet. That's Neil Bonnet right directly in front of Rick Wilson in the Valvoline car number 75.
Well, Larry Newber, perhaps you can tell us a little more about the Earnhardt problem.
Bob, I cannot at this point. The car, I can tell you, has been pulled back here behind the pit wall, or not only behind the pit wall, but back into the garage area, and they left it quickly. It's sitting back here all by itself to try and track down somebody in a black and silver shirt and give you the details.
He is, of course, referring to the second car in the Childress stable that was driven by Rodney Combs here this afternoon that already has gone behind the wall. So Larry will check out that situation. That's the R&D Richard Childress car. Well, Jerry Punch may be able to tell us more.
Bob, we're in the Earnhardt pit, and I just talked to Carl and Richard Childress a minute ago, and he was telling us that they have a tire problem. They're concerned that maybe the tires they started on, they have the stagger in the car off a little bit. The car is just way too tight. The car is pushing in the corners. The car is riding up across the racetrack, and he can't turn the car. So he has to actually jerk the steering wheel around, and when he does, he breaks the car loose, and then you see some tire smoke. So they'd like to get an early yellow flag to get a chance to make a pit stop and get the car dialed in. Meanwhile, they'll just have to put up with it and ride it out here early on.
Good 3-car battle here as Neil Bonnet has joined in this contest for 17th position. At the moment, Dale Earnhardt has 17th, then Jeff Bodine in the 5 car, then Bonnet in 75, and then our in-car camera carried by Rick Wilson in car number 4. The number 23 machine of Eddie Bierschwale is in the pits after a very impressive qualifying performance, good enough for 11th starting position. Bierschwale is in the pits.
Whatever his problem was, he's heading back out. They did not change tires or anything on the car. Just a moment ago, we saw Jeff Bodine trying to pass Dale Earnhardt. He got it beside of him. Let's take a look at it again as the two made contact as they came off. Well, here it is. Now Jeff Bodine in the yellow 15 car, 5 car down on the inside. You see him drift up and just get into Earnhardt a little bit. That's just good hard racing. They separate and go on about their business, but Earnhardt maintained the position.
Well, after last weekend's skirmishes and bumps and bangs on North Wilkesboro, this really isn't the kind of track that you want to do that this week. This 1 mile, much faster racetrack.
But that wall here at Rockingham is awful hard. You can see how close Earnhardt is to it. They're 3 wide right there in that shot. They're struggling to Earnhardt's trying to get up front. Jeff Bodine's trying to get up front. They're all trying to go up front, especially with Earnhardt's car pushing. He is one of the drivers that probably likes the car to push the least of any of them. A lot of drivers ask for a little push. Dale Earnhardt, he runs his car closer to the edge, and when it's pushing, he really has a hard time.
Rick Wilson's car working well down on the inside, the Kodak Oldsmobile number 4. So he moved around Jeff Bodine, now trying to pass Earnhardt, but Bodine trying to move back up on the outside of him. So as you said, there are 2 distinct crews here at Rockingham this afternoon.
And there we see Rick Wilson passing Dale Earnhardt, or at least drawing alongside of him as they're down the backstretch, and they are side by side now heading into turn number 3. Earnhardt will take the high line. Here comes Wilson in the number 4 yellow car to the inside. Jeff Bodine is also right there, and Lake Speed is also right there in car number 83. While we watch this excitement, we'll tell you that Bill Elliott continues to lead, with Rusty Wallace running in 2nd position. Then Davey Allison, 4th is Alan Kulwicki, and Ricky Rudd has moved up to 5th place. We're watching a battle here for 16th position.
When you're talking about Ricky Rudd, he's moving up on Alan Kulwicki, who is running in the 4th position right now. Rudd started in 9th position. Remember, Jerry Punch talked about the fact that he might be a driver that, as they have run 30 or 40 laps, will head towards the front. Well, they've run 25 laps now, and Rudd certainly is on the move, even though we have a report that his car is getting very loose, but he's running with Alan Kulwicki. You see him coming into the picture now. Rudd is in the green car, the number 26, Alan Kulwicki, in car number 70, but Rudd now trying to move into the 4th position.
As we watch Ricky Rudd and Alan Kulwicki run there, I think what's happened at this track is that it's a short track, but it's a short mile. It means you're in the turns a lot here at Rockingham with a lot of banking. The tires really heat up a lot. Both Hoosier and Goodyear have had to come with a pretty hard compound tire. The rubber is harder than you would think for a mile racetrack, so that means they don't have as much grip as they wish they had in the turns. thus they have to almost slide through the turns. You can see the tire smoke. Normally on a track of this size, if you see tire smoke, the tires will blister, but I don't think we're going to see that here today. I think the drivers are just going to have to really drive hard all day.
And there is the guy who is driving the hardest at the moment. That is Bill Elliott in car number 9. And right behind him, the white number 27 is second place, Rusty Wallace. Davey Allison third. Then comes Ricky Rudd and Alan Kulwicki. The number 25 car of Ken Schrader now has moved in here to again pass Dale Earnhardt.
Now, at the beginning of the race, Kenny Schrader dropped back about 7 or 8 positions. He's one of the cars that qualified on Hoosier tires. Now they seem to be working well for him, and he has caught Earnhardt and several other cars that he had dropped way behind at the beginning.
An interesting tire story is certainly developing here at Rockingham, as Ricky Rudd, who was the top Hoosier qualifier, 9th, has already moved up to 4th place, and now this good battle between number 8 Bobby Hillin Jr. and Dale Earnhardt, as Earnhardt just is not performing well at all in that particular car. The car is just not working right.
Very out of character for the Richard Childress cars not to be working. That has been their strong suit over the last several years, is the handling qualities of the car. But they've missed the setup a little bit here today. As Gary said a little bit earlier, he'd like to have a caution flag right now to try to get that car dialed in. You can see Jeff Bodine in the car 5 has pulled away from him after he finally got around him.
Well, this is a good track to really watch the handling, especially on television like this, because the white lines are visible through the turns. Watch the left front tire of a car compared to the left rear tire and see how they are in relation to the lines painted on the race surface. And you can just see how much these drivers are driving. There's a good shot of Jeff. His back tires are at least a foot, maybe 2 feet outside of the front tires. That's how loose his car is. When the back end's trying to slide more, that car's loose. Earnhardt's car, on the other hand, goes into the turn and pushes, and then he has to jerk the wheel to make it loose, and that's where he's losing his time.
Jeff Bodine from Chemung, New York in car number 5, and Benny Parsons right behind him. Jeff with a shot at the win last week at North Wilkesboro. Can we expect a race like North Wilkesboro here at Rockingham?
You normally don't, but anymore you don't know what to expect. This is faster. The consequences of a little tap here are a lot worse than what they might be at North Wilkesboro, so we don't try to get into those situations, try to get into those pushing and shoving matches here at this fast, high-banked racetrack, but we do have some contact out here, and I think we need to expect that. The fans need to expect to see some of it, and as drivers, we do expect to have a little pushing and shoving, but we all know how far we can go with that here, and can't go quite as far as what we saw last week.
We've already seen a little bit of bumping out there today, but I don't think that can be considered intentional by any stretch of the imagination. It is Bill Elliott leading the AC Delco 500 with Rusty Wallace running in second. The average speed after 30 laps, 139.562. We'll be back in just a moment. Back at Rockingham, and the yellow flag is out as the 36th lap is completed. A car spun over there in turn number 3, Lake Speed in car number 83, and you can also see some debris on the backstretch. Now, Lake Speed's car is down to the inside. We're not able to see it right now, but here is a look at at least the end of the spin.
Of course, he had already spun around, and you can see the car backing up to the wall. The front end had already got into something. The front end is banged up, and he slips down in between the other cars as they come around and down to the inside of the racetrack, and everybody will come to the pits.
That was Bobby Hillin Jr. to the inside that just narrowly escaped the 83 car. Dick Berggren calls the Elliott pit stop.
It'll be 4 new tires for Bill Elliott. At first, they picked up a set of scuffs, tires that they'd already broken in. Then they changed their minds at the absolute last instant and picked up brand new tires. Rusty Wallace is also in. He, too, will take a 4-tire change. Next to Elliott is Davey Allison. He is going with 4 new tires. So far, everybody who started on Goodyear that I have seen has stuck with the Goodyears. Wallace, Elliott, off the jacks at the same time.
And Rusty wins the battle out of the pit area, so he will fall in ahead of Bill Elliott as the others complete their pit stops, and they move back out onto the racetrack. So our first series of pit stops here as we are under caution because of a spin involving Lake Speed. Here is Dale Earnhardt. Now he has had handling problems throughout the race, and Dr. Jerry Punch will explain this stop by Earnhardt.
Well, the Goodrich Chevrolet comes to a halt. The World Championship pit crew. Yeah, they won it again yesterday. A World Championship time, changing 4 tires, a little over 23 seconds. We'll tell you more about that later, but right now they're getting their job done here in the pits under caution flag competition. Right side tires are on. Kirk Shelberdine, Will Lynn, David Smith and the crew around on the left side. Left front tire, left rear tire is on. Full can of fuel, and they have made that adjustment on the tire stagger that should put this man back up toward the front. Earnhardt down the way with a good stop.
And another important item here, he stayed out and led the lap, so that will give him the bonus point for leading this Winston Cup race. Well, there are front steer and there are rear steer cars. That doesn't mean the rear wheels steer it. What it does it mean? Well, it's explained in this week's Quick Fact. Quick Facts are brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
Perhaps the most frequently asked question at a Winston Cup race is to explain the difference between front steer and rear steer. Well, it can be shown very easily on camera. Front steer, the revolutionary setup for these cars. The steering box and the tie rod runs in front of the front axle line. In rear steer, all that apparatus is behind. Now, what happens when the steering wheel is turned on a front wheel car is that the front wheels are basically pulled through the corners. On a rear steer, that they are pushed. Now, this machine of Barry Dotson and Rusty Wallace is the only one of the top 3 cars in points that have used exclusively front wheel cars this year. Well, they may be setting a trend that next season others may follow.
Rear steer and front steer cars here at North Wilkesboro as we are under caution because of a spin up in turn number 3 involving Lake Speed. So we'll take a break and be back with more live coverage from the Sandhills of North Carolina after these messages. Here are the standings after 41 laps. Rusty Wallace now leads with Bill Elliott second, then Ricky Rudd, Alan Kowicki, and Terry Labonte. In 6th place is Davey Allison, then Brett Bodine, Kyle Petty, 9th is Darrell Waltrip, and 10th is Sterling Marlin. The number 75 car is driven by Neil Bonnet. He won the race here in the spring. More on that, here's Dick Berggren.
Well, he's got his work cut out for him today, though, Bob. The rear end of that car is well torn up. I did talk to his crew chief, Bob Rahilly, who says, however, they don't think that the damage is anything more than cosmetic, that Bonnet should be able to run fast here. He's going to really have to do some fast running because the front of this pack is on fire. They are really quick. More on the story. Here's Larry Newberg.
Dick, actually, what's happening involves the guy you're just talking about, Neil Bonnet. You know, Neil Bonnet and Rick Wilson and Lake Speed, all 3 started the race on Hoosier tires way back in 23rd, 4th, and on back in the pack. All 3 of those drivers were making their way to the front in a hurry. Now, the car number 7 of Alan Kowicki, and I'm in Kowicki's pits now, started on the outside front row on good years, but was dropping back, getting looser and looser. Now, they have Norman Degree behind me, an experienced young man they brought in just for today to help out with Alan Kowicki. Okay, now Norman Degree, the guy standing behind me here, has a lot of experience in ARCA competition. Bill Venturini and a lot of guys here have been able to win races with Norman Degree in their pits. He is in the pits for Kowicki today. He made the call. Kowicki is now on Hoosier tires. After watching the effort of Rick Wilson and Ricky Rudd and Neil Bonnet come to the front and say, hey, let's go ahead and put the Hoosiers on, and we'll see what they'll do because we're dropping back with the good years.
So that's the tire situation as explained by Jerry Punch, and the yellow flag is still being displayed by Harold Kinder. However, as you can see, he is raising his finger indicating that the next time around they'll get the green flag. And we'll be back for that restart right after this from Rockingham on a Sunday afternoon. Stay with us. We're back at Rockingham and the AC Delco 500 under green once again, and it's Rusty Wallace leading Bill Elliott. Ricky Rudd is running in 3rd spot, followed by Terry Labonte, Alan Kowicki, and Davey Allison. So all 3 now of the contenders for the Winston Cup, Bill Elliott, Rusty Wallace, and Dale Earnhardt, have led a lap. And there is Elliott, who is closing in on Rusty Wallace. He, of course, has gotten that lead after the series of pit stops. Now, there is the contest for 4th spot. It involves 3 machines. That's Terry Labonte in number 11, getting a little sideways, a little squirrely coming out of the corner. Davey Allison is in number 28, and Alan Kowicki drops back in number 7.
Yesterday afternoon in practice, Terry Labonte was very fast. I talked to him just before the race started today, and he felt good about it, but he said, I am confused about the tire situation, which is going to be the best. Of course, he qualified on Goodyear. We assume that he still has Goodyear on the car, but he did kick it out a little bit there as he made that pass.
Well, I think that's almost becoming the norm here, that run a little bit loose or run a car sideways to be fast. You know, it's not comfortable for the drivers to run that way, but they sure are. The ones that are up front seem to be driving that style.
There's Labonte. There is Allison in 5th. And right behind Davey in 7th position is Alan Kulwicki. Still looking for that first Winston Cup victory. Just a few yards ahead are the leaders, Rusty Wallace and Bill Elliott, number 27 and number 9.
Elliott is staying about the same distance as we see Davey Allison making a pass on Terry Labonte for the 4th position. But I was about to say that Rusty is able to maintain about the same distance in front of Elliott that Elliott was in front of Rusty before they made the pit stops.
Well, you know, the 2 point leaders, when you think about it, Bill Elliott the leader in points and Rusty Wallace second. Bill Elliott got the pole, took off leading the race, and Rusty Wallace following him in 2nd place. Under the caution flag, Rusty Wallace's pit crew was just a little bit quicker than Bill Elliott's, got him out. Now Rusty Wallace is the leader. They both picked up that bonus point deal. Now Rusty Wallace's best hope is to lead the most laps and get that other 5 extra points.
Davey Allison is running in 4th spot as we zero in on the leaders once again. Wallace and Elliott.
Now it seems Elliott might be
We have a spin over in turn number 2 as Eddie Birschwell loops it, slides down to the inside of the track. There's another car down there also. I don't think it was involved in the crash, but it went low on the racetrack to avoid it. And yeah, there it is. It's Dave Marcus. And we saw Dave a lap or 2 ago after the green came out as we were in commercial break with a slide up to the outside of the wall. So he now becomes involved in this little incident with Eddie Birschwell on lap number 54.
Mark is trying to get his car to going. I don't know if he can't get it cranked or what the situation is. Of course, he wants to get to the pits or get back on the racetrack if he can without losing as much time as possible.
I don't think the leaders will pit now. No, they're staying out. I think the smartest thing at this track, you can go about around 95 laps on fuel, and they've just run a few laps since they fueled up, and with the leader staying out, it pretty much dictates everybody else near the lead group to stay on the racetrack. Maybe a car with a handling problems might make pit stop, try to make some adjustments.
Everybody stays out except Phil Parsons and Neil Bonnet, who have both come in for some service. So as Marcus's car is still stalled at the bottom of turn number 2, we'll take a break and be right back. Winston Cup replays are brought to you by Purolator, the first name in filters. For Pure Oil now and Pure Oil later, it's Purolator.
Richard Petty could get visibly impatient in his early years. After his pole-winning car quit in the American 500, Petty relieved teammate Jim Pascal. He made up a lap, then went a lap up on the field. A late pit stop was his undoing. A broken distributor cap was the culprit. It cost Petty 12 laps and a win.
That was in 1965, and in 1988, King Richard is still running races. And as you can see, his best 88 Super Speedway finish of 15th at Charlotte and at Dover. NFL Prime Time here on ESPN. As we discuss the major events in the National Football League, that's live at 7:15 tonight with Chris Berman, John Saunders, Pete Axthelm, and Tom Jackson. 7:15 tonight live here on ESPN. And then our coverage of the National Football League next Sunday live at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. We'll have full coverage of the game between the Washington Redskins and the Houston Oilers. That's next Sunday at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. So Harold Kinder has the green flag in hand now as we are about to go back to racing on lap number 57. The lead is still held by Rusty Wallace with Bill Elliott second, Ricky Rudd third, fourth is Davey Allison, and fifth is Terry Labonte. Slow start as they come down for the green. There it is, finally displayed. The lap cars are to the inside of the racetrack, and the cars on the lead lap, the faster cars on the outside. Dale Jarrett is being lapped by the faster cars. And there is the view from Dale's car, the Hardee's race cam.
Dale had just got lapped just before that other caution came out, and Rusty Wallace seems to be in trouble in car number 27.
Ooh, he is all over the racetrack, and others take evasive action to avoid hitting him. Davey Allison with a fine job of driving, but Rusty Wallace is dropping back quickly, and so is Alan Kulwicki. He's coming into the pits, as a matter of fact. So both Kulwicki and Rusty Wallace are in trouble. They're changing the tires on the right side of the Xerox Ford for Alan Kulwicki, and we'll see if Rusty Wallace may also be headed for pit road, as something just didn't go right when the green flag came out. Here comes Rusty in for a pit stop. A tough break, but remember, this guy fights back so gallantly after a problem, and we could be seeing it again this weekend. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
Well, deja vu, what happened to Rusty Wallace a few weeks ago in Charlotte when they made 17 pit stops but came back to win, and they have a flat tire on the left side, a left rear tire going down on the Rusty Wallace car. The Kodiak Pontiac crew quick change of tires. He's down and away, 11.8 seconds.
But he is going to go a lap down as the leaders come by and pass him. Rusty Wallace goes a lap down. This seems to be the pattern that he has followed for the last few races, but he always manages to get back on the lead lap, and in fact even comes back to win occasionally. And another car is coming in for a pit stop, the number 30 of Michael Waltrip.
We had a report that it was the right front tire on Alan Kulwicki's car that went flat, and this is a similar pattern to what we saw here yesterday in the Busch Grand National car. Immediately after a caution, those that didn't come in for a pit stop, they would have, several of them would have flat tires, and that's, I don't know what's happening that we have that type of a situation, but they're just simply running over something and cutting them, I guess.
So Michael Waltrip goes back out. This is when the moment of bad luck occurred for Rusty Wallace.
You can see the cars get jammed up a little bit there as Rusty apparently had slowed and Bill Elliott slowed, but then Rusty really slows down. He goes to the high side of the racetrack with that left rear tire flat on the car, and Bill Elliott moves around. Here comes Ricky Rudd moving around into second place. Elliott would have been better off if he would have moved down to the inside of the racetrack, but he didn't know exactly what was happening, so he was trying to get out of the traffic's way. But if he'd been on the inside, he could have gotten back to the pits quicker.
Well, debris on the racetrack is what causes these cut tires, and Dick Berggren can perhaps show us a sample of what we mean by debris.
I sure can, Bob. This morning, Goodyear people took a walk around the racetrack after the race yesterday, and look what they picked up. This whole handful of pieces and parts. Here's a piece of weld, here's a piece of engine block. We don't know what this is, but they say any one of these things could puncture a tire. And this stuff just falls off the race cars, even though they're well prepared during the event. This is the stuff that's cutting the tires.
Well, you know all that debris there's all bolts, nuts, everything. I tell you that it's usually a rear tire that picks it up. When the tires are hot, especially after they slow down on the caution, the front tire will run over a bolt or anything on the racetrack and kick it up in the air, and just in time for the rear tire to come by and poke it into the tire. I was really amazed that Rusty Wallace was able to pinpoint it as a left rear flat. That's the hardest thing for a driver to do, is know which tire it is that's flat. He usually knows it's a front or a rear, but it's hard for him to say it's a left rear and hit it right. You usually get those right about 50% of the time, but Rusty did a heck of a job of telling his crew that it was the left rear.
Rusty is running right behind this trio, and these are the ones that are leading the race. It is Bill Elliott at number 9, Ricky Rudd at number 26, and the number 28 car of Davey Allison. And there is Rusty Wallace as he now tries to pass these guys and get himself back on the lead lap. Ricky Rudd, as we indicated at the very start of the program, would be headed toward the front on the Hoosier tires, and indeed he is in camp now in second position. Here's Dr. Jerry Punch, who's watching Rusty Wallace.
Well, Gary Nelson mentioned that it was sort of difficult for a driver to determine whether it was left or right rear that was going down.
Spin.
Trouble on the racetrack.
It's the number 25 car of Ken Schrader that has spun and come to a rest at the inside of the racetrack, down in corner number 4. And
Rusty's got to go. Rusty needs to get step on it.
Oh,
he's trying his very best. He picked up about 100 yards, but he's not going to be able to get back to Bill Elliott, and that's the man he needed to pass.
He did pass Davey Allison, but could not pass Ricky Rudd or Bill Elliott, so Rusty remains 1 lap down. But remember, when we go back to green, when they line up for the green flag restart, Rusty will be positioned to the inside of the track and will then have the opportunity to. There's the car that spun. Ken Schrader will take a look at it once again.
Well, Ken, right in the middle of the groove, it looked like. Alan Kowicki in the car number 7, they're dodging him, and the car got out of control, slid sideways and around down to the apron of the racetrack, got out of everybody's way. Now he comes into the pits.
That's our 3rd caution period of the afternoon. Here comes Schrader into the pits, and right behind him is Wallace. Ricky Rudd is also pitting. So is Terry Labonte, Davey Allison, Dale Earnhardt, and others. Dick Berggren.
Seeing the same strategy here in the pits that we saw in the last round of pit stops. But this is an incredibly busy place. We've got Rusty Wallace in the pits, we've got Bill Elliott in the pits, and they are taking on new tires. 4 tire change for everybody.
So the work continues, and now Bill Elliott's car is down off the jacks, and so is Rusty Wallace's. Wallace is pitted much further toward turn number 1 than is Bill Elliott, and so he very often gets out up in front of Bill Elliott. Dale Earnhardt is also coming out of the pits. There he is, the number 3 GM Goodrich Chevrolet. Jeff Bodine in car number 5 is in for a stop as the Waddell Wilson crew goes to work on that car, changing rubber on the left side. Rusty Wallace did beat Bill Elliott out of the pits, and Jeff Bodine now also rolls out of pit road.
Stop sign was out for Jeff. He ran the stop sign.
So he must not have gotten out quite quick enough to beat the pace car.
No, they're going to black flag Jeff. He ran through the stop sign at the end of pit road.
So there may be a stop and go penalty assessed to him, and we have a tire that's rolling down the backstretch.
I wonder where that came from. It came off of a car, I guess, that got out of the pits too quick.
So the tire rolls down the backstretch as the field catches up with it. We're under caution for the 3rd time at Rockingham with 70 laps completed. Well, the trees are in full color in the sandhills of North Carolina. We're at Rockingham for the AC Delco 500, the top 5 with 72 laps completed. Bobby Hillin Jr. is the leader, Phil Parsons 2nd, Kyle Petty is 3rd, followed by Mark Martin and Bill Elliott. We are still under caution for the 3rd time this afternoon. And let's go to Dr. Jerry Punch in the pit area.
Well, Gary Nelson had made mention how impressed he was that Rusty Wallace knew he had a left rear tire going down. It's very difficult for a driver to determine which was left or right. You know, it's a rear or a front. In fact, he didn't know. Rusty thought it was the right rear tire. It was actually Dale Earnhardt who was behind Rusty Wallace and saw the left rear tire going down. Earnhardt radioed into his crew, told the Goodrich crew, who ran over and told Barry Dotson, said, hey, you guys got a left rear tire going down. So that spirit of cooperation, although they're locked in a tight point battle, Earnhardt's crew came over and told Barry Dotson they knew to change the left rear tire, and it kept him from losing more than 1 lap. Let's go up pit road to Dick Berggren.
Well, Jerry, as competitors begin to change tires and as they switch back and forth between the Goodyears and the Hoosiers, this race, it's easier for them to do that. Why? Because in previous races, the tires had been sized differently. They were of different height. That meant that as you went from one to the other, you had a different number of RPM running. And either you would punish your engine or you would lug it. Well, the Hoosier engineers have decided they're going to join with what they call the big guy, which is Goodyear, and all the tires now are the same size. So it's real easy to switch back and forth. Larry Newber, what you got?
Well, Dick, I too am standing by in a Rusty Wallace pit, and during the last green flag segment, some people at home might have noticed that that left rear wheel that was changed was red. Yeah, it was already borrowed from another team, and actually this came from a Busch team of yesterday. Ned, you'll be familiar with this. It came off of Glenn Jarrett's car. Remember, he crashed in the morning and couldn't race. They're also putting on borrowed and bought tires, I guess you might say, in some instances. These came from Phil Duffy, and the reason for that is they don't want to wreck their good sets. They do have sets of 4 tires here. When they come in for a quick pit stop like Rusty Wallace did for only 11 seconds, they don't want to dismember one of the 4 sets they put on one of the odd tires.
Of course, that would have been Dale Jarrett that wrecked his car yesterday before the race and not Glenn. Well, we're seeing him line up here, Bob, getting ready for the restart, and look at Rusty Wallace as he positions himself right on the inside. Maybe we are not going to get the green this time, as indicated.
Drivers were told we were going to go back green, but now Harold Kinder holds the yellow flag high, indicating it'll be at least one more lap before we go back to racing. We'll be back after this from Rockingham, North Carolina. The green flag has just come out on lap number 75. We're back to racing, and Rusty Wallace was positioned to the inside of the restart, and he has now pulled ahead of the leader of the race, Bobby Hillin Jr., and so Rusty Wallace goes back on the lead lap.
And boy, he's hoping for another caution pretty quick so that he can get back up in the thick of the battle.
Well, at this point, Bill Elliott is 7 cars behind Rusty Wallace. Bill Elliott showing to be Rusty Wallace's competition at this point. He has 7 cars to pass to catch Rusty. So Rusty really doesn't need to be too worried right now. His car is competitive. If any caution in the next, say, 50 to maybe even 100 laps, Rusty should be in pretty good shape.
The tire that we saw rolling down the backstretch a while ago was off the number 97 car, driven by Joe Ruttman, but things are okay on that car now. And you know, guys, this story that we were told about in the pit area involving the friendship and cooperation among the Earnhardt and Rusty Wallace teams is just incredible to me. Those two guys are indeed battling it out for the Winston Cup and thousands of dollars, yet there is that kind of cooperation between them.
Well, they're very good friends, and they're very professional in their sport, and Earnhardt knew how tough it was to determine which tire was flat, and that was a real fine gesture on his part. Very good sportsmanship.
But I've been in that position a lot of times as a crew chief when the driver calls on the radio and says, I got a flat, but I don't know which tire it is. And the normal thing to do is to go out and change the right sides. While the guys are changing the rights, have somebody look at the lefts. If it turns out to be a left side, then you radio to the whole crew and say, it's got to be a 4-tire stop. And that could have been 2 laps that Rusty would be down. So to the fact that Dale Earnhardt helped the crew, kept Rusty Wallace from being 2 laps down. That was a pretty good move on Earnhardt's part.
The number 9 car of Bill Elliott has moved into 3rd position now, passing the 21 car of Kyle Petty. Here comes the 11 car, driven by Terry Labonte. And now we have a battle for the lead as Phil Parsons in car number 55 dives to the inside of the 8 car, driven by Bobby Hillin Jr. And Phil Parsons has gone into the lead here at Rockingham, but here comes Elliott.
Elliott has picked off one car and then the other. Has done it very methodically. His car is working super well, but now he's got 2 cars running almost side by side in front of him. That'd be a little tough to pass.
With Rusty Wallace having a clear track ahead of this group right here for the lead. These 3 cars going for the lead. Rusty Wallace pulling away more and more. He's really, I think Bill Elliott would like to catch Rusty, but I don't think Bill's really trying that hard either. He knows it's a long race, and he knows Rusty's got a good chance right now to get his lap back, and no sense of changing his style just to try and catch Rusty right away.
Now look at Elliott make the move on the inside. His car is really working down there. Hillin did not make a stop. His tires are a little bit hotter and worn, and look at Bill Elliott just motor on by Phil Parsons.
So Elliott goes back into the lead now as we see some tire smoke off the Bobby Hillin car, and here comes Terry Labonte back in 4th position, but that car, number 11, has been running well, and we could see Terry Labonte here in 2nd position in just a matter of moments. He goes to the inside of Bobby Hillin Jr. as Phil Parsons is on the high side. Labonte in the number 11, here he comes across the stripe. He's got 3rd position and now looks for 2nd spot from Phil Parsons. He's the low side of the racetrack. Parsons staying up high. They come down the backstretch, and we'll see the move that Terry Labonte makes at the end of the backstretch as he tries to get the nose underneath that number 5 car. It goes high onto the racetrack, and Labonte now still side by side. They touch coming out of corner number 4 as Phil Parsons just will not relinquish that 2nd spot. Now he has to, and Labonte goes into 2nd.
Well, Rusty Wallace is 3 8/10 seconds ahead of Bill Elliott. While all that shuffling was going on, Rusty was able to pull away. Of course, Bill Elliott has pulled away from the 2nd place car of Terry Labonte while Terry was battling for those positions back there. But Rusty is sitting out there running very comfortably by himself right now.
He is well ahead of Bill Elliott, but again, we remind you that Wallace has simply gotten his lap back here. Now, another example as we do a lap time of the cooperation between the Earnhardt team has for others. He let Bill Elliott use the Earnhardt R&D car for the pit crew competition yesterday that we'll tell you about in later in the race. 26-second lap for Rusty Wallace.
That's a pretty good time.
That translates to 140.815 miles an hour.
Of course, that doesn't compare with the 148 that Bill Elliott when he won the pole here for this race, but when they get the race set up on the car, and that is making the car much tighter and taking off the fan that they use to qualify, a lot of things that they do, then the speeds do change, but 26 seconds flat is a pretty good speed right now.
You see Rusty Wallace kind of running the middle of the racetrack now. Bill Elliott runs a little lower through the turns. I think Bill Elliott, you know, Rusty got almost 4 seconds ahead while Bill Elliott was passing 7 cars to get to where he is now, to the lead. So Rusty Wallace pulled away 4 seconds. Bill Elliott only lost that. That's really not much ground to lose while passing 7 cars. So Bill Elliott is running awful strong right now.
In fact, he's gaining on Rusty Wallace, Gary. He's down now to about 3 4/10 seconds, so he has picked up 4/10 of a second since Elliott has moved away from that pack of cars behind him.
This group of cars led by the number 8 of Bobby Hillen Jr. There's the 6 car of Mark Martin. He's to the inside of the track, while on the outside is the 28 car driven by Davey Allison. Ricky Rudd is also there in the green 26, and the bright orange 17 is Darrell Waldrop.
You know, Ricky Rudd ran awful strong early in the race. I really don't know what the circumstances were that got him this far behind, because he was right up near the leaders. He may have had to make an extra pit stop that we didn't notice or something like that, but I think Ricky Rudd's car has been running real good the last several races. You know, he's been in a position to win maybe the last 3 or 4 races especially. So we need to keep an eye on that 26 car there, Ricky Rudd, and just see how he does, how he moves up.
Gary, we'd had a report early that he had somewhat of a brake problem on that car, and I'm sure that he's sort of been tiptoeing as far as that's concerned. I'm sure that they've been making adjustments or trying to correct it during these caution flag pit stops.
7th and 8th right there. The number 8 car of Hillen is 7th, and Ricky Rudd in the 26 is in 8th spot. Bill Elliott continuing to set the pace here. Second spot is Terry Labonte. Then comes Phil Parsons. Then Davey Allison. Then the 21 car there of Kyle Petty, followed by Ricky Rudd and Bobby Hillen Jr.
Boy, this is no place to have a brake problem. You can see Ricky Rudd coming by Kyle on the inside. The front of his car, if you look at the front of his car right there, the 2 parking light openings underneath the front bumper, those are brake ducts. That's where they duct air into the brakes to cool them off. So right there, the 2 black marks where the parking lights would have been, that is brake duct hoses that duct air to the brakes. The brakes get so hot here at Rockingham, you really need brakes getting into the turn to run a fast lap, and that's if Ricky Rudd has a brake problem now, he really has to be very careful.
And also Rudd had a little encounter in the pits, you know, earlier too, with car number 68, I believe, of Derek Cope. Now, it could have possibly knocked his front end out of alignment, but whatever it is, I think they got it fixed because he's on the move.
He looks awful strong right here, that's for sure.
This is the battle for 4th spot, and Rudd is going to go into 4th, having successfully passed Phil Parsons in car number 55. So Parsons is back to 5th, then Hillen, then Darrell Waldrop, and then Kyle Petty. Waldrop with the high line, as is Mark Martin, who is back there in the dark blue car number 6.
You know, as you watch Darrell Waldrop drift up so high, he doesn't really want to go there, but he doesn't really want to turn the wheel any sharper because he's afraid the car will spin out. He needs more grip in the turns. He's having a problem getting traction, and the tighter you turn the wheel, the more you try to hold it to the inside, the more you slide. So he would like to be down low like Ricky Rudd and the others there's Sterling Marlin running low, but he just can't turn the wheel that sharp.
And he could be conserving tires that way too, Gary. He's not putting as much pressure on those tires and not heating them up as much.
Well, that's what it is. When you turn sharp and the car slides more, you get more tire heat. Darrell's just making a bigger racetrack out of it, using the banking to slow his car down as he goes into the turn. You see he even approaches the turn higher. He's running up there because of the handling problems. He wishes he was down low, but since he is up high, he's got to do the best he can.
Bill Elliott leads as we are nearing the 100 lap mark here in the 500-mile race at Rockingham's North Carolina Motor Speedway. Back with more right after these messages as we present live coverage of this Winston Cup race. Bob Jenkins, Ned Jarrett, Gary Nelson, Larry Newber, Jerry Punch, and Dick Berggren back at North Carolina Motor Speedway in Rockingham for the AC Delco 500 Winston Cup race. It's being led at the 101 lap mark by Bill Elliott in number 9, the Coors Motorcraft Ford. Running in second is Davey Allison. Third is Terry Labonte. Fourth is Ricky Rudd, and fifth is Sterling Marlin. There is second place, third place, Terry Labonte in number 11, and is Ricky Rudd is right there also, as they are just a little bit behind the second place car driven by Davey Allison.
Well, Rudd has made his way up through the pack, up through the fourth place, and here is Rick Wilson for an unscheduled pit stop on the Kodak Film Oldsmobile. He gets something cool to drink. He just sort of pours it on him. Don't look like he got much inside him, but he's wanting to go. As they put the jack down, now they're coming around. They're going to change all 4 tires. Now he's sticking with the Hoosier tires. He qualified on Hoosier tires, and he's staying with them.
But what that was is an example. The left side tire is flat. They changed the right. You saw him bang the steering wheel. That's when he heard over the radio, it's a left side. We made the wrong call. They had to change rights for no reason. Now they're getting the left rear off. It's blistered left rear is what it was.
Too bad for Rick Wilson as the battle continues on the track for third spot between Terry Labonte at number 11 and Ricky Rudd at number 26, and Rudd passes him now and goes into third spot, but here comes Terry Labonte battling right back. They're side by side into turn number 3. Labonte's going high just a little bit and scrubbing off some speed while Ricky Rudd maintains that third spot. Well, let's go down to Jerry Punch, who's with the crew chief on this 26 car.
Well, you're looking at 29-year-old Quaker State crew chief Larry McReynolds. And Larry, we had been told that Ricky had a brake problem. Do you have a brake problem?
No, I don't think so, Jerry. He just commented under one of the caution that the brake pedal was kind of acting funny coming down pit road. But other than that, he really hadn't commented that it's hurting his performance.
Now, when the green came back out, you guys were pretty slow. You didn't come up to speed, but now you're really a rocket out there. What's the difference?
Well, this was a brand new set of tires that we scuffed in about 4 or 5 laps yesterday, and the left rear tire went flat as he come off the racetrack yesterday. So we put a sticker on there. We didn't want to throw that set of tires away because it was a good set of tires. So it took about 15 laps for that left rear to grow out and get the stagger where we needed it. It's showing it on the watch now that it's beginning to pick up speed.
Well, Gary Nelson, you may want to comment on that. They have a sticker tire and a scuff tire on the left side, and that's why the car was slow for those first 2 laps, but now he's really picking up the speed.
Well, you know, when early in a race like this, it's 500 miles. You've got to experiment. You got to, if you're not just right, you want to work on it and see if you can get the car better. You know, Larry McReynolds is getting he's pretty good at that. The car of Ricky Rudd seems to be getting stronger and stronger every race that we run in the later stages, and that's really attributed to the experimenting that goes on early in the race.
And one other thing I want to talk about here is radial tires. Now, apparently radials were tested in Winston Cup competition, or they were tested with a Winston Cup car at Talladega recently. And as to whether or not they will go with the radials in 1989 remains to be seen. But I guess as in IndyCar racing, the radial tires won't grow as the bias plies do.
Well, I was involved with the testing at Daytona this week with Goodyear. We tested with our car and Dave Marcus driving. We ran, I don't know, maybe 700 miles of radial testing for Goodyear. The results were very encouraging. We were very impressed with the tires. And what the difference is these are bias ply tires on these cars now. That is what the Hoosier and Goodyear have been running all year. What happens is if your car's pushing, your right front tire gets hotter. As that tire gets hotter, it grows. When your right front tire grows, your car pushes more. So it compounds itself. Same thing if you have a loose car, the right rear tire gets all the heat. If your car is trying to spin out, your right rear tire gets hot. When that right rear tire gets hotter, and it grows and it grows, the more it grows, the more rear stagger you get and the looser your car gets. So that's been the case over all these years with bias ply tires. When you put on radial tires, it eliminates that. If your car is a little pushy, it'll stay a little pushy. If your car is a little loose, it'll stay a little loose for that whole run.
So Bill Elliott is continuing to lead here over second place, Davey Allison. And we'll be back right after this. Back at North Carolina Motor Speedway, the stands are full, and it's a beautiful Sunday afternoon. Certainly not the weather conditions that we had 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago when the race was rained out at North Wilkesboro. We have just gorgeous weather here this afternoon as Bill Elliott continues to lead this race. Davey Allison is running second, followed by the number 26 car of Ricky Rudd, then Sterling Marlin and Terry Labonte. Now, while you watch Bill Elliott, we'll remind you that Rusty Wallace has lost, or he did lose a lap. However, he is back on the lead lap as Kyle Petty is coming in for a pit stop in the Wood Brothers Ford. Dr. Jerry Punch is right there.
Unscheduled stop for Sitco Ford. Leonard Wood and the crew going to work on the right side. He had a flat right tire. They weren't really sure which one it was, but they pretty well sure it was a right side tire. Leonard Wood now comes on the left side. Kyle rams the throttle and goes down and away. They were thinking about changing left side tires, but Kyle just made a different decision.
Well, he's one of the drivers that had qualified on Hoosier tires, but they switched to Goodyear. Evidently, he cut one down or something happened there. We mentioned earlier that Rusty Wallace had pulled out to about a 4.5 second lead over Bill Elliott. Now, he's in the lead lap, but Elliott has cut that down now to about 3 seconds. He's gradually picking up on Elliott, but no big threat yet to put him a lap down.
No, I think those two cars, the one you see on the screen there of Rusty Wallace and right coming up here, Bill Elliott, those two cars are the two fastest cars we've seen today. You know, we've seen Ricky Rudd moving up and we've seen Terry Labonte moving up, but Bill Elliott right there, I think, is really has the muscle today. We haven't seen any tire smoke yet from Bill Elliott's car.
Rusty Wallace, of course, hoping for a piece of debris on the racetrack that would bring out another caution period that would allow him to encircle the entire track and get back into a competitive situation with Bill Elliott and the others.
You know, years ago when I raced with Bobby Allison, we'd get in a situation like this where we needed a caution just like Rusty Wallace does. Bill Elliott obviously is hoping there is no caution. Bobby used to call me on the radio and say, has anybody seen any Frenchmen on the backstretch lately? That's what we call debris.
The number 17 car of Darrell Waltrip is running in 6th spot, and we'll continue to watch him run this very high line on the racetrack. So let's go to Larry Newber now, who is with Jeff Hammond, the crew chief on this car.
Jeff, the booth has been observing that Darrell's been running high. Why?
Well, Larry, the thing right now is that the car is a little bit loose, so therefore he's moved up a little bit. That seems like that helps the car. We've got the car trying to get it set up to where it's not really pushing, not really loose. And this time we just got a little bit too free for it to run low and still be fast. So we've told him to move up and down the racetrack, and we found a fastest watch time where he felt comfortable. So that seems to be the best for us right now.
There has been such a question from time to time this year about preserving the tires. There was a little speculation that maybe Darrell was very sensitive about the tires and doing a lot to keep the tire temperatures down. Any concern there?
No, right now, the Goodyear tires we're running are really looking good. Tire wear looks excellent. Tire temperature is really good. So we don't really foresee a problem with the tires right now. So we just hope everything will stay together.
Jeff and Darrell have had a very good October and September, and they are very confident about next year. They think they'll be a force to be reckoned with.
And Larry, you were talking about those front steer tires a little bit earlier. Here's Bill Elliott moving around Dale Jarrett's Hardy's Oldsmobile, putting him another lap down. And Darrell Waltrip and Jeff Hammond says that they plan to go exclusively to front steer cars next year. Rusty Wallace has had great success with them this year.
And this is the view that Dale Jarrett has from the Hardy's Oldsmobile as he is behind Bill Elliott motoring down the front stretch.
And you can see Dale Jarrett's hands on the steering wheel. He's turning left, turning left. That looks like a push to me, doesn't it to you, Ned?
Yes, it does. The car is definitely not working right in the turns.
He never had to correct back to the right through the turns, where I think most of the fast cars are pretty much on the loose side. Looks like Dale Jarrett's got a bit of a push right here.
And there you can see Dale working that car.
You notice the goggles Dale's wearing. They're bubble goggles, and he has an open face helmet. That gives you more peripheral vision. You can see better out the sides of those goggles than you can any other type. A lot of the drivers have gone to full face helmet, or a few drivers have gone to full face helmet and a bigger type of goggle.
Well, here is Rusty Wallace going a lap down once again as Bill Elliott passed him in turn number 2, and so Rusty is indeed a lap down once again.
Boy, that came all of a sudden.
Rusty is slowing down on the racetrack. He's about to come into the pits, I believe.
Yes, he is. Rusty Wallace is coming in once again, so the problems continue for Rusty Wallace. Jerry Punch is there in the Wallace pit.
Well, Barry Dodson says, Rusty said we got a flat tire, but they're not sure, so they're going to guess this time. They're going to change 4, apparently, so this Raymond Beadle walked over to Jerry. We're going to change 4 tires. We don't know which one it is. We can't take a chance on putting him back out there and having him cut a tire and hit the wall. Elliott's coming out of turn 3 and 4.
No lug nuts on the left side. He's got to stop. They took the lug nuts off the left side. He can't keep going. There's no lug nuts to hold the wheels on.
They had already taken the left side lug nuts off, so they had to back the car up and now jack it up. And a costly miscue here in the Kodiak pits is now they're putting left side tires on Rusty Wallace's car. They had already made a decision to change 4 tires. Rusty heard them say, and Elliott was coming in 3 and 4. He wanted to get back out and not lose an extra lap. And I guess apparently there was some communication problem. But anyway, they have 4 tires, and it cost them time.
Well, that was a very costly miscue and a rare miscue for that pit crew. They are one of the best in the business, but it can happen to the best.
That crew is so good. It's got to be that somebody didn't hear something on the radio. You know, Rusty was set for 2 tires and go, and the crew was saying 4 tires. That it's more of a communications thing than anything. We saw the man take the lug nuts off the left side, and Rusty apparently just didn't hear it.
So Rusty Wallace's drive for the Winston Cup once again receives a setback as he has gone now 2 laps down to the leader, Bill Elliott. Back with more in just a moment. The Sandhills of North Carolina, Rockingham, and North Carolina Motor Speedway, the AC Delco 500, the top 5 at the end of 131 laps. It's Bill Elliott, Davey Allison, Ricky Rudd, Sterling Marlin, and Terry Labonte. It's being brought to you by Xerox, the antifreeze coolant for extreme conditions. By Astrolite Batteries. Astrolite Batteries give you the power. And by Champion Spark Plug Company. A very enthusiastic crowd on hand here as Rusty Wallace has now gone 2 laps down because of a miscue in the pit area. He came in for a change of tires on the right side. They loosened the lug nuts on the left. Jerry Punch has more.
Well, we're with Barry Dodson, the crew chief from the Kodiak Pontiac. And Barry, what exactly happened? What happened during that pit stop?
I called 4 tires originally, then it was a right rear. I thought we could call it off and just lose 1 lap. I couldn't do it. It's my fault. I called 4 tires and let him go. We had the nuts off over here. I didn't call it quick enough. It's my fault. It's not Rusty.
Well, Barry Dodson accepts the blame. A lot of courage here. What happened was they went ahead and called a 4-tire stop. And when Barry went back and looked at the right rear tire, it was flat. Barry said, hey, we got the tire right here, fellas. Change 2 right side tires and let him go. In the 2 right side tire zone, Barry told Rusty Wallace, go, man, go. In his radio, so Rusty left. And, of course, the left side lugs were already off.
Well, Rusty is going right now. I can guarantee you with those new tires on, he is just setting the track ablaze, but not really doing himself much good.
Well, he's certainly running faster than any other car on the racetrack right now. He's not only has the new tires on, which lets him go faster, but he's driving that thing with a passion.
And now first, second, and third begin to close up just a little bit as Elliott has the lead there in number 9, but right behind him is the 28 car of Davey Allison, and not too far behind Allison is the green 26 car driven by Ricky Rudd. So we've got a real tight battle here among 3 cars for the lead as they try to lap some of the slower traffic. Michael Waltrip drifting high in turn number 4. Here they come on the low side, and Dale Earnhardt is going to go a lap down in just a moment.
Boy, can you imagine Dale Earnhardt going a lap down at Rockingham? This used to be one of his better racetracks. I'm sure they've missed the chassis setup a long ways right here.
Well, he's certainly going a lap down now as Bill Elliott pulls on the inside of him, and it looks like he's going to do it with ease. But Davey Allison has come from a long way back to catch Bill Elliott.
So Bill Elliott at the moment is just blowing away the competition, at least for the Winston Cup, as he, as you can see, has put Dale Earnhardt a lap down, who is 3rd in the Winston Cup points. And Rusty Wallace is going to be struggling back from 2 laps down, who is 2nd in the Winston Cup points battle.
Greg Sachs, who was running in the 10th position, just made an unscheduled pit stop for a change of tires.
I don't think Rusty Wallace needs to worry too much yet. His car is so fast. Look at it. Here's Davey Allison going around Bill Elliott. Davey, he almost came from nowhere, didn't he?
Well, Allison has been moving up steadily, but now he is in a position to challenge for the lead as Bill Elliott uses the high line and Davey Allison stays to the low side. But nope, he's not able to take away the lead from Bill just yet.
Well, I hope Bill Elliott didn't back off when he heard that Rusty Wallace has lost 2 laps, because now is not the time to back off. Rusty Wallace can still come back. I really know Rusty's driving with a lot of determination right now.
Still a good battle for the lead. Elliott on the high side and Allison on the low side, and Ricky Rudd watching those 2 go at it.
And Ricky Rudd is the fellow who needs the win right now as they battle for that front position. Ricky has already won 1 race this year. He'd like to win another one, at least one other race, and that would put him on the winner's circle for 1989. And the winner's circle program is worth about $250,000 to $300,000.
There is a lot at stake here in these closing races, and we, of course, will have the final 2 Winston Cup races live for you here on ESPN at Phoenix and at Atlanta. Now we see Ricky Rudd in the 26 Quaker State car challenge Davey Allison for 2nd. So while he was concerned with taking over the lead from Bill Elliott, here comes Ricky Rudd to challenge for that 2nd spot.
Well, Elliott might have turned the wick up a little bit, or maybe Davey just used his tires up too much in running him down and then was not able to pass him. The 4th place car, Sterling Marlin, is in the pits, and Jerry Punch is there.
Well, the cut tires continue to be a problem here. Sterling Marlin has Hoosier tires on. Remember, this is the car he ran so well with back in the spring, and he almost won it here except for a miscue in a final pit stop. And they will look, Jake Elder looking over the Piedmont Airlines Underall Oldsmobile. They were changing right side tires, 2 right side tires, 4 can of fuel. He's down and away, a good pit stop, but it will cost him a lap in time here under green.
And he was running in the top 5 when he came in for the pit stop. Sterling Marlin was 4th, but as you indicated, now goes a lap down to the field.
You could see when Sterling Marlin came out of the pits, he shot right up onto the banking. Some of the drivers would stay a little lower on the apron of the racetrack and try and run around and blend into traffic on the back straightaway. But Sterling Marlin was in a big hurry. He just shot straight out into the banking. And I think a lot of the drivers are thinking about that with the debris that might be gathering on the apron. They want to get right on the racetrack.
And Morgan Shepherd just made a pit stop. He was running in the 17th position, according to our last rundown. And other green flag pit stops are not too far away. We've run longer under this green flag period than any other time since the race started. So, and Dale Earnhardt is coming down pit road in the Goodwrench Chevrolet.
Well, that's a smart thing to do. He just got lapped. He might as well get those new tires on. Now with the new tires, he'll run a lot faster. Let's go to Jerry Punch in Earnhardt's pit.
Right side tires for the Goodwrench Chevrolet. They had just been talking with the Goodyear engineers here a minute ago. Kirk Shelburne trying to decide what the problem was. Leaders come by the front straightaway. Earnhardt down and away, a good pit stop, but he will get lapped again. He is now 2 laps down to Bill Elliott.
And of course, Bill Elliott will have a pit stop coming up before too long as Michael Waltrip comes in the pits in the Country Time Lemonade car. So some of these might be scheduled pit stops, maybe not as far as the gas would go, but the tire situation, and the Kodak car of Rick Wilson is in the pits as well.
But we have a good battle for the lead once again as Allison challenges Bill Elliott for that top spot. Once again, is Davey on the low side of the racetrack. Now he may have Bill because Bill had to get out of the throttle because of the 55 car of Phil Parsons. So now Davey Allison leads the AC Delco 500. And Elliott is now falling into third place in that line, actually fourth place, as Morgan Shepherd in car 57 is the black car on the inside of the racetrack. Davey Allison, our question to him earlier in the weekend, would you consider yourself an aggressive driver?
I feel like I'm an aggressive driver. I've been a little over-aggressive here the last few weeks, but we've got to calm down a little bit, keep a cooler head. You still have to be an aggressive driver, and I feel like that's what I am, and that's what I'm going to continue to be.
So Davey Allison, twice a winner this year in Winston Cup competition at Michigan and at Richmond.
Right now, Bob, we're seeing 10 cars being shown on the lead lap. Of course, Davey Allison is the leader. In second place is Bill Elliott, Ricky Rudd third, Terry Labonte fourth, and Darrell Walter has now moved up into fifth.
Now here's the serial on Sterling Marlin. He started in 18th, moved to 11th, way up to 6th, then all the way up to 4th before he made that pit stop that has dropped him back to 15th position. It was tires that caused the unscheduled stop. Here's Jerry.
Well, Sterling thought he had a flat right rear tire. That's what we told you. That's what they told us. But it actually wasn't flat. I'll show you what happened. Take a look at this tire. This Hoosier that came off the right rear had been run for 74 laps, but it was coming apart. Big chunks of rubber blistering off the tire, and these areas across the inside, that's the cord, ladies and gentlemen. There's no rubber left on this tire whatsoever. He wore this one completely out, that Underall's Oldsmobile. Car number 5 in the pits, Jeff Bodine making a stop.
And so is Ricky Rudd in the car number 26. Here's Bodine's car as they take the right side tires off of his car. And Ricky Rudd, who was running in the third position, is also up ahead of the car. Let's go back to Jerry Punt.
Right side tires, Larry McReynolds and the rest of the Quaker State crew for Ricky Rudd. Good pit stop for Rudd, 12 and 8/10 seconds. He's down and away. Let's go up to Dick Berger. Dick?
Well, Jerry, just about everybody is pitting. Jeff Bodine right now is in, and the pit right next to him is Bill Elliott, and they're going to come in, and they're going to try to adjust the chassis. They're running a little bit too tight, and just up ahead, they are right now preparing to bring the leader in. Davey Allison heading for pit road. The crew poised and ready. This will be a 2-tire change, as has been the case all up and down pit road. We are waiting on pit road for your leader, Davey Allison. The crew springs to action. Here comes Allison, and right behind him, the guy who was running behind him on the racetrack, Bill Elliott. Let's see who can get their guy out here first. It's a lot easier to change these guys' position in the pit than it is on the racetrack. Right side tires on. Elliott's a little bit ahead. Davey Allison's got, virtually identical, almost identical pit stops. Allison came in first. He left first.
Good call, Dick, and that's exactly right. They go out onto the racetrack exactly the way they came in, with Allison just the slight advantage. Both crews doing a fine job in changing tires and fueling those cars in just about the same amount of time.
Right, and you see Dale Earnhardt right there on the screen. He is back with where he was just before the pit stop. That's how much ground he made up with those new tires.
Here is Terry Labonte coming in as a Tim Brewer Junior Johnson crew go to work on it.
Well, Terry had taken over the lead after those other 3 cars had come into the pits, and now Darrell Walter should move into the lead as Brett Bodine comes in, Dale Jarrett's in, and here is Sterling Marlin coming back into the pits. This would be an unscheduled pit stop certainly for him as Terry Labonte gets his work finished and heads back out on the track.
And there is Sterling Marlin, who, as you indicated, is in for a second time just in a matter of laps. They're changing the left side tires on that car. Darrell Waltrip is making a pit stop also as Sterling Marlin goes back out onto the racetrack. And there's the Darrell Waltrip car being serviced.
Now these are more or less scheduled pit stops now. They could have perhaps gone a little longer as far as fuel is concerned, but their tires were getting really hot and worn out, and just almost all of the top cars have made green flag pit stops now.
And so we settle back for racing since the pit stops have been concerned, and we are 157 laps into the 492 lap AC Delco 500. NFL football debuts on ESPN for the season next Sunday at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Live coverage of the Washington Redskins against the Houston Oilers next Sunday at 8 o'clock. Immediately following our race, we'll be switching to Del Mar, California for the Grand Prix of Southern California IMSA race, the final event in that series for 1988. That will be live immediately following our coverage of this AC Delco 500 Winston Cup race. And there is the leader, Bobby Hillin Jr. Now, he has not made a pit stop and so is in the lead at this point. However, when he does come in for the stop, which should be within the next few laps, the lead will go back to Davey Allison. And there is Davey as he leads a whole group of cars down the Tri-Oval area of North Carolina Motor Speedway. He is right behind the number 88 car that's being driven by Greg Sachs. Now to the inside of him, that's Harry Gant also in this picture, in the green car number 33.
But Bobby Hillin inherited the lead when Davey Allison and Bill Elliott and the rest of the leaders made their pit stops. But Bobby Hillin is running very slow right now relative to the other cars. His tires are worn and they're hot, and he's not getting much grip. And what we saw with Dale Earnhardt, he just took off when he got the new tires. Same with Rusty Wallace. Anytime you put new tires on today, your car really picks up speed. So he's losing a lot of ground right now. He just needs a yellow, and that will all come back to him. If no yellow comes out, Bobby Hillin's going to be way back in the pack by the time he makes his pit stops.
Here we see the car number 68 of Derek Cope trying to move around him. Derek was in the pits not too long ago, so he has on relatively fresh tires, and it really does make a difference, Gary. I think he can pick up about a second a lap with new tires on the car.
You can see how badly that number 8 car is handling. It's very squirrely through the corners, and Bobby Hillin has a handful.
Yeah, once you commit to staying out like Bobby Hillin has done, you really need to stay out there till you're out of gas. Since he's already lost that ground, and if he makes a pit stop, he will be a lap down. He needs to stay out there till his gas runs low, hoping for a caution. That's the only thing that'll help him right now is a brake.
Well, the leader is, the second place car of Davey Allison has come into the picture, so he is catching him very quickly each lap. He's going to pass him in the next few laps, even if he doesn't make a pit stop.
Looks like the Davey will go into the lead even before Bobby Hillin Jr. makes the pit stop, as Davey on those fresh tires is really charging. And Bobby Hillin not as fast as the car was a while ago because of the worn tires. Harry Gant moves in for a pit stop in the number 33 Food Lion Skull Bandit.
And he's taking on left side tires in his car. Here is pass for the lead.
It's Davey Allison moving inside in turn number 3.
Yeah, you look at how far out the back end of Bobby Hillin's car is. He is just sliding through the turns.
And Davey Allison does take over the lead from Bobby Hillin Jr.
You can see Bill Elliott back there, the red car coming into the picture. That's how far he is behind Davey Allison. Elliott, of course, now running in the 3rd position.
3 abreast there as Harry Gant came out of the pits and joined the 8 car and the 6 car of Mark Martin.
Mark, I believe, would be showing us 1 lap down. He made an unscheduled pit stop a while back. Davey Allison now just motoring away.
Yeah, Davey's car looks so smooth. You had a good shot of it when he was alongside of Bobby Hillin. His car just stuck, not sliding, not slipping like we've seen other cars. No tire smoke at all from Davey's car.
Bobby Hillin Jr. in car number 8. One of those involved in as we see him just about to be passed by Bill Elliott. They come down in front of us, and Elliott is going to pass Bobby Hillin Jr. rather quickly. Bobby Hillin Jr., one of those involved in the Unical pit stop competition that was held here yesterday. Now, this Billy Woodruff-led crew has historically done very, very well in the pit stop competition. The clock goes on the crew as they change all 4 tires and load the car with fuel. Now, Bobby Hillin Jr. had a base time of 26.150 seconds. That's the amount of time it took them to change all 4 tires and to fuel the car. But then they are checked for any violation that might have occurred, and it was found that Bobby Hillin Jr. was penalized 3 seconds for the catchman, and so he had a 29.150 second pit stop. Terry Labonte and the Tim Brewer-led crew also involved in the pit stop competition. His base time was an excellent 25.167, as the crew changed all 4 tires on it and got it out in 25.167 seconds. There were no violations. All the lug nuts were tight and everything, so Terry Labonte ended up in 2nd position. But here is the winner of the race. Cecil Gordon, Kirk Shelmerdine, and the other members of the Richard Childress Dale Earnhardt crew. An amazing 23.808 seconds. That is a new world record. They broke their own record of 23.831 that was set back in 1987. There were no violations, so Dale Earnhardt and the Richard Childress team won the Unocal pit stop competition yesterday and walked away with a total prize over $8,000. That's a nice way to reward your crew during the season with that kind of money. And boy, they really did a fine job in changing the tires and refueling that car.
They certainly did, and they've done it every Sunday too, Bob. Most of the time during the races, they have at least performed equally with other teams and outperformed most other teams. Here's the car number 33, it's Harry Gant with new tires on his car. He's trying to unlap himself from Davey Allison, who is leading the race. Here's Gant trying to move down on the inside. And while you were explaining the pit crew competition, Ricky Rudd came in for an unscheduled pit stop, changed left side tires on his Quaker State Buick, so Ricky has gone a lap down.
Well,
and Jerry Punch has that story.
Well, Dan, an unscheduled stop for Ricky, as you said. This is the left rear tire that came off Ricky Rudd's car. I was just talking to Larry McReynolds, and Larry was very, very concerned about the wear on the Hoosier tires. The left rear tire was completely separated here. Actually, the tire was cut down and was going down, losing air. That's why the rubber was peeled away. But the biggest concern
trouble up
here,
on turn 4.
Bobby Hillen Jr. has crashed in turn number 4. The car is headed in the wrong direction at the bottom of the racetrack. The caution comes out, everybody putting on the brakes and avoiding him. Perhaps he just waited too long. Now here is a race to the caution flag, and look at the 6 car, the 25 car, and the 33 car all pass Davey Allison and get some of their laps back.
Well, that was some heads-up driving by those drivers to Harry Gant, had been battling Davey Allison for a while to get his lap back, and boy, he did it in a hurry. Dale Jarrett, as we see out the front window of his car, he was able to keep from getting lapped right there, as we see the crew down there, the safety crew, to attend to Bobby Hillen Jr. Maybe he stayed out there too long on those tires. Don't know if he blew a tire or what caused it, but everybody else now will be coming in the pits, and Davey Allison will lead the charge.
Let's go to Dick Berggren, who can call this stop by our leader, Davey Allison, and here he comes toward you, Dick.
Well, Bob, last time around, Davey Allison came in first and left first. We get a chance to see it again because Davey Allison is in one more time. Elliott pitting right behind him. This time, however, it'll be a 4-tire change. And when they change tires on Davey Allison's car, the one they'll take off the left front has got blue paint on it. Allison has had contact with someone. It does not appear to be hard enough to have significantly damaged the automobile. There, they just roll the left front tire on. Right now, it's a dead heat, Allison and Elliott. Absolutely even. Allison off the jack first. Allison gone first. Elliott right behind him.
Let's go down to Jerry Punch, who's watching the Ricky Rudd stop.
4-tire change for Ricky Rudd. The crew are really concerned. They were concerned about the tire wear. We were commenting just before Bobby Hillen's spin. The tire wear on the Hoosier tire. Now, they have primarily Hoosier tires mounted up back here. They have about 7 or 8 sets. They only have 3 sets of Goodyears, but they may have to make the switch here pretty soon. They did put Hoosiers on the car just now during this pit stop.
Okay, so Ricky Rudd is back, and here is the reason for our caution. This is from our camera located low on the front stretch, and you can see him spinning at the top of the screen, Ed.
Yes, he does. The car goes high up against the outside retaining wall as other cars come down on the inside. I believe that Bobby might have blown a tire as he went into the 4th turn, causing the car to spin around.
There
and
you
then,
can
of course,
see
the race back to the caution.
You can see Bobby Hillen Jr., who has gotten out of his car and is walking to the ambulance. He appears to be in pretty good shape.
Well, you know, the tire we were looking at just as this caution came out in the pit area, the rubber had blistered off of it. There was no rubber in sections of the tire. It was a Hoosier tire, and we've seen that on several tires so far today in the race. The left rear tires on the Hoosier cars seem to be having problems. When that cord starts showing, the next thing after the cord is the air, and when the air starts showing, that's when your car spins out. I think that's probably what happened to Bobby Hillen.
Through all of this, Davey Allison is going to maintain the lead as he once again beat Bill Elliott out of the pit area. Back with more in just a moment. Back at Rockingham in the AC Delco 500 live on ESPN. The leader is Davey Allison. Davey, this Bob Jenkins. You seem to have things in hand right now. How are things going for you?
Well, Bob, so far everything has been going very well for our team and for us on the racetrack, but there's still a long ways to go in this race, and Bill Elliott's been awful tough too, and we're just going to keep working on the car and trying to get it a little better as we go along and try to be around at the end and be up front and put this Haviland Star Thunderbird back in victory lane again.
David, this is Ned Jarrett. It seems that your car will work just about anywhere on the racetrack that you want to run it.
Yeah, that's true. I've been able to go inside or outside. It hasn't really mattered. Wherever I've had to pass people, I've been able to do that. That's a good sign for here at the Rock that, you know, you have to be able to handle well here to be able to win, and that's what we want to do.
All right, Davey, we'll let you go. We're going back to green in just a few minutes, and we wish you the best.
Say hello to everybody back home, especially my mom and dad, my grandparents, and tell them that we miss them. We'll be home to see them soon.
All right, Davey Allison, the current leader of this race. Well, Winston Cup drivers, as you may know, come in all shapes and sizes, and we had a chance to examine that topic just a little bit closer. A closer look in this ESPN NASCAR Winston Cup Track Fact. Track Facts are brought to you by the Robert Bosch Corporation, makers of Bosch Platinum, the ultimate spark plug.
There was a time when I considered this to be the typical stature for a stock car driver, 6 foot, 180 pounds, just barely over 30 and very athletic. But Winston Cup Racing provides opportunities for many others. To Benny Parsons. Benny is over 40 years of age, above 6 feet tall, and he weighs 230 pounds. To Mark Martin. Now, Mark is only 5'5", he weighs 140 pounds, but Mark and Benny are examples that mental attitude and stamina are perhaps more important in Winston Cup Racing. Although the new scientific cars, particularly with inventions like power steering, have really helped even out the odds.
Isn't she lovely? On the left, yep, that's Benny Parsons. We're kind of celebrating Benny Parsons weekend here at Rockingham. 25 years of driving coming to an end. Benny Parsons, by the way, is a full-time member of the Winston Cup broadcast crew exclusively on ESPN in 1989. Back in a moment. Cars are on the third turn after having just taken the green flag, lap number 183. And the herd comes thundering down the front stretch with Davey Allison leading the way. That's Bill Elliott in car number 9 running second. Darrell Waltrip in number 17 is third. Fourth is the 11 car of Terry Labonte, and Sterling Marlin in fifth place in car number 44.
And Bob, we're only showing 4 cars in the lead lap. Those of Davey Allison, Bill Elliott, Darrell Waltrip, and Terry Labonte. The car number 44 of Sterling Marlin is 1 lap down. And now Rusty Wallace is being shown as 1 lap down. So he's back in a little better position. He was 2 laps down at one time.
Rusty Wallace in 8th position there. You can see him in this group of cars that we're following. So Rusty has gained 1 of the 2 laps that he lost back.
And that came about as a result of Elliott and the other front runners making their pit stops. He went the 2 laps down when he made an unscheduled pit stop. Then when they made their pit stop, that put him back just 1 lap down.
Now Bill Elliott beginning to close in on the leader, Davey Allison. But look at this 3 abreast racing. Rusty Wallace is in 27. The number 3 car is Dale Earnhardt. The 15 belongs to Brett Bodine. And there is Marlin, car 44.
And Bob, while all that racing and shuffling rounds going on, maybe we should explain that picture that we saw of Benny Parsons there a moment ago. Last Monday night, they had a womanless beauty pageant in Ellerby or Rockingham here where Benny Parsons from. This is his home track, and of course it was for charity, and so Benny always pitches in any way that he can for charity, and boy, he went to the extreme that time, went that extra mile to do what he could for the community. There it is again, Benny Parsons.
We were talking about driver physiques. Look at the physique on, who is it, her, shall we say?
Yeah, I think that's the mayor there with him.
You know, I got to work with Benny Parsons a little bit as we watched Rusty Wallace and Sterling Marlin on the screen. We tested with Benny a couple times, and the first time I tested with Benny, he came into the racetrack and he had his pencil and paper out. He said, "All right, boys, I'm going to order lunch. What do you guys want?" And this was 9 o'clock in the morning, so Benny hasn't missed too many meals.
Now we see Rusty Wallace using the high groove of the racetrack. And right behind him, the number 11 car. and also the 15 of Brett Bodine.
Now that pass there, moving around the 44 car, is for position. That'll put Rusty Wallace on the scoreboard. That should move him into the number 5 position.
Of course, he is still a lap down to the field.
And we see the 15 car of Brett Bodine right behind Rusty Wallace. Brett is 1 lap down, running in 6th position. In 7th position, also 1 lap down, is the car number 88 of Greg Sachs. Dale Earnhardt is 1 lap down, and so is Ricky Rudd in the car number 26. So there are 4 cars on the lead lap, then 6 cars that are 1 lap down.
And the only one among this group, I believe, that is more than 1 lap down is the 7 car of Alan Kulwicki. We'll check on that. I don't believe he is just 1 lap down, but he is involved in this group of cars anyway. But there's the number 11 of Terry Labonte, and then behind him the 7 of Alan Kulwicki and the 26 car of Ricky Rudd.
Well, they went a long time before that last caution came out when Bobby Hillin had his wreck, and they'd gone long enough to make green flag pit stops, and they were really looking for a caution that they could make some adjustments on those cars. And of course, many of them had new right side tires, but they also wanted new left side tires on them. Of course, that caution gave them the opportunity to do that.
We went 101 laps, as a matter of fact. We went back to green after the Ken Schrader spin on lap 75, and the yellow came out for the crash involving Bobby Hillin Jr. on lap 176. Now Alan Kulwicki pulls alongside the number 11 car of Terry Labonte, and here comes Ricky Rudd behind Alan Kulwicki.
Boy, that Ricky Rudd, what an example of how competitive things have become now. Terry Labonte, Ricky Rudd racing back here. You know, Ricky was running real strong, moved up, then he made 2 pit stops, so everybody else has 1. Put him a lap down. He still has to fight his way back. Everything you get on this racetrack, you have to earn. Here he is fighting with Terry Labonte, trying to get back up towards the leaders, hopefully, so he can get this lap back that he's lost.
And of course, Ricky Rudd looks forward next year with the Kenny Bernstein team to having a new engine builder come on board, as Lou LaRosa has announced that he'll be leaving the Earnhardt Childress team to join the Kenny Bernstein Quaker State team.
And Richard Childress announced this week that Eddie Lemire would head up the engine department of the Goodrich team next year.
So good battling here going on between Ricky Rudd and Terry Labonte as they manage to trade some paint out there at times.
That is close racing, and they're just fighting for every inch of the way.
Trouble on the backstretch.
We have a couple of cars involved in a crash on the backstretch. Michael Waltrip was involved, but he keeps going, and I'm not able to determine is that
it's the Purelator car number 68 of Derek Cope.
And he has damaged the right side of that car rather extensively.
Well, there is a lot of debris on the backstretch right now.
And I expect most of the drivers will be coming in after running over that debris and changing those tires once again, strictly because of the running over the debris. Michael Walter coming into the pit. You can see the damage to both the right rear and the right front of the Country Time Lemonade Pontiac. Mike Beam, the crew chief on the car, and the other members go to work on it. They'll change tires first and then assess the damage and see if there's any sheet metal rubbing. They'll try to keep him out there, get him back out as quick as they can, and the leaders do indeed come into the pits. Let's go to the pits and Jerry Punt.
Well, the Motorcraft Cord melting forward of Bill Elliott on pit road, and Dan Elliott and the rest of the crew going to work. Ernie Elliott rolled the tire back over in front of the car. The right side tire is already on the car. Great pit stop. Now Dan Elliott will make that sweep around to the left side. Jack beneath the car, left front and left rear tires rolled on. Just behind Elliott is Jeff Bodine pitting the Levi Garrett car. And Earnhardt is also pitting as Elliott is down on the way. Let's go to Dick Berggren. Dick.
Well, Jerry Dale Earnhardt is down some laps, but this is the best possible way for these guys to pick it up. This is the fastest pit crew in the world, having won it 4 times, but Sterling Marlin beats them out. So does Brett Bodine, so does Ricky Rudd. Now, here, finally goes Dale Earnhardt out with 4 new tires, hopefully in a chassis that runs a little better than it's run so far today.
Pulling out just ahead of the 33 car of Harry Gant. Meanwhile, Davey Allison's crew is standing by, but for the moment, he stays out there.
No, now's not the time to pit unless they think they have a flat. They committed themselves to stay on the racetrack. They should stay out there now and hope he didn't get into any debris that would cause one of his tires to leak down slowly.
So the crew is trying to
something happened to Dale Jarrett's car as he made a pit stop, made a good pit stop, and as he started out, the car died, and now they can't get it fired again, so he's going to go another lap down, it looks like.
Boy, it's hard to push those cars. You can see his hands on the switch. He's trying to get the starter to turn over. The crew's pushing the car. It's just not trying to, it won't start.
So Dale Jarrett now is sitting hopelessly in the pit area as they still try to get that car rolling. And back in the race, there it catches, and Dale Jarrett pulls away. Back in a moment. Derry Cope's badly battered race car is being taken from the racetrack after Derrick hit the wall in turn number 2 and stopped in the backstretch. Davey Allison has not made a stop yet. Jerry Punch, is he going to?
Well, I just talked to Tony Price a minute ago, who's the crew chief on the Haviland Ford, and they were not going to come in. They were not planning on making a stop, staying out front, leading some laps, and maybe getting a shot at pulling away a little bit. Everybody else had pitted, including Elliott, Earnhardt, and the rest of those folks. But now, Davey just radioed in a minute ago and said that he ran over some debris on the racetrack, so he will have to come in. Of course, by coming in now, as he makes his way down pit road, he will start back in the back of those cars on the lead lap, only 4 of which, so that won't be too bad for Davey. But now he's on pit road, and of course, Robert Yates, Tony Price, and the rest of the crew going to work on the right side of the car, the jack beneath the Haviland Ford, and they will change his right side tires. But they've tried to roll the dice, and they came up short. They will change all 4 tires as Robert Yates skips over the jack man, or the front tire man, comes around on the left side of the car. Robert Yates is the team manager and engine builder, and they are scurrying around here trying to get those tires changed. And they have trouble with one of the air wrenches, and finally they get the left front tire off. So thank goodness it's under yellow flag, and it will not cost him any other valuable time.
Finally, the jack is down and the car begins to roll away, but it was a very lengthy pit stop for Davey Allison. It was under the caution, however. So the field is still under caution as they're cleaning up the debris on the backstretch caused by the Derrick Cope crash. We'll be back right after these messages. In one more lap, we'll be going back to green and the race will resume. This is the reason why we are under our 5th caution period of the afternoon.
There was trouble on the backstretch between Michael Waltrip in the yellow car, number 30, and Derrick Cope in car number 68. Cope came out on the worst end of that deal. Michael Waltrip has been in and out of the pit. They continue to do work on that car. Let's check in with Dick Bergen right quick.
Well, this car is certainly not going to win the Best Appearing Award. They've got damage on the right front, the right rear, and right now they're working underneath the automobile trying to get the Panhard bar squared away. He has significantly dinged the Country Time Lemonade, and right now we've got a green coming up, and he better hurry up if he's going to get out of the pits before that happens.
Field is moving out of corner number 4. The pace car is in, and the acceleration begins. We are back to racing. Now the number 6 car, the 27 car, although they lead Bill Elliott, they are essentially a lap down. Elliott is the leader of the race.
They're at the tail end of the lead lap. Bill Elliott, as you say, is the leader. But several cars now at the tail end of the lead lap.
Yeah, Rusty Wallace really technically back in the lead lap. He's coming back.
There's going to be a car that is black flagged. We'll check and see exactly who it is. It could
28
be.
car, it looks like.
Yeah, it could be. It could be Davey Allison who's been given the black flag. We'll check with NASCAR. Yes, it is. Or it could be the 26. I'm not sure. We'll just wait and find out. But anyway, a car has been black flagged for jumping the start of the race. Here is the number 9 car of Elliott and the 17 car of Darrell Waltrip. They're running in first and second. And there's the 28 car of Davey Allison. And here he comes in for a stop. Jerry, what's going on?
Well, a stop and go penalty. NASCAR indeed had black flag Davey. They said he passed on the left side prior to starting the start finish line. So he comes in for a stop and go penalty. The car died. They just got it refired and heads down pit road.
And they top off the fuel tank, although it didn't take much fuel to get it full. But in any case, he did take on some fuel, and here he goes back out onto the racetrack while the field comes out of the 4th turn, crosses the finish line. Davey has about a half a lap before he's going to be lapped. Now let's go to Larry Newber, who can give us some information on the Bill Elliott situation.
Well, Bob, we've all sat around and watched Bill Elliott dominate this race, and he may be taking a gigantic stride toward the points championship. When it all boils down to is Bill's magic number is 323. If he scores 323 points over these final 3 races, he'll win the championship no matter what Rusty Wallace does. That means he has to finish 14th or better in the final 3 races. If he wins today, leads the most laps, gets his 5 points for leading laps, he'll win 180 points, and he'll be in a position to clinch the points championship at the next race in Phoenix. And the way Rusty Wallace has been coming on recently, no one expected that.
Well, without question, Bill Elliott has had the best car here this afternoon. When you compare it to both Rusty Wallace and Dale Earnhardt.
Yeah, as far as those are concerned, Davey Allison is the only other car that has been equal to his in speed. And Davey, of course, out there running sort of by himself right now, so he's not in too bad a position. Now, Bill Elliott, those other cars that we saw in front of him on the restart, the car number 7 of Alan Kowicki, the car number 6 of Mark Martin, he since surpassed them, put them a lap down, but Rusty Wallace is still out in front of him, and Rusty is in the lead lap. He's only about 100 feet or so. You can see him just as they come off of the turn. He's not too far out in front of Bill Elliott. There's Elliott, and you see on the left of the screen, there's Rusty Wallace. So that's how much Rusty likes being 1 lap down.
Yeah, you know, Rusty Wallace right here in the lead lap, he's still got a long way to go. Bill Elliott can't let up for 1 second on these next 3 races. He's got to keep running the same way that he's run all year. He right now leading the race is an example of it. Bill Elliott has a strong car, and he's been showing it all year long.
Well, Rusty Wallace certainly can't afford to let up right now because he needs to try to stay in the lead lap, so he's got to drive his heart out right now.
Yeah, Rusty has no choice but to run flat out for the rest of the races. You know, when you're in second, you don't have anything to lose, but you can gain an awful lot. So Rusty Wallace, you can see him smoking the tires. That's something we haven't seen on Bill Elliott's car at all so far.
Well, Rusty Wallace is in a points battle for really the first time in his Winston Cup career. But another guy who has been in this situation many times before is Benny Parsons. We asked them, how do you handle this tight points battle?
When you get to through the Southern 500 and you're still in contention for the Winston Cup, you think you've got a chance to win it. And the emotions and the problems that you have to go through just build and build and build. 3 races to go. Those guys are wound as tight as a spool of thread. They really are.
I'm so intense right now trying to win the Winston Cup title that maybe my aggressiveness is getting a little bit out of control. I'm going to try to calm myself down a little bit, but I really want to try hard. I'm going to try hard for this team.
Well, I'll tell you, it is tough. There's a lot of pressure on the fellas. I went through it a couple of times, but I was able to lock up the championship before the last couple of races of the year, and that certainly eased the pressure to a great degree, but there was not nearly as much money involved in it back then, so the pressure couldn't have been as great as it is today.
Well, in 1984, Rusty finished 14th in the standings. In 85, he finished 19th. In 86, he was 6th in the final Winston Cup standings, and last year, 5th. And now this year, 2nd in points at the moment to this guy, Bill Elliott. And the difference coming into this race was just a mere 89 points.
Yeah, 89 points is nothing, really. I've seen it swing 89 points in 1 weekend, so they've got 3 weekends left. It's going to come down to the wire. I really can't predict that, I think.
You know, I was talking about the money, Bob, in the point standings. Now, Winston pays $400,000 to the champion in New York. Now, that's in addition to money that went to the drivers who were leading at mid-season. Now, when I won the championship the first time in 1961, I got $6,000. I won it in 1965 and got $8,200 for being the champion. So a lot of difference in it then and now.
Times have changed. And look at this. The number 8 car of Bobby Hillin Jr. is back on the racetrack. This car crashed down in corner number 4, and the car appeared to be very severely damaged and not able to rejoin. And Bobby Hillin Jr., as a matter of fact, was walked into the ambulance and he was looked at, but everything is okay, and Bobby Hillin Jr. is back on the racetrack.
Well, he's in 12th position in the point standings coming into this race, and there are a lot of drivers that can close in on him. Right behind him was Kyle Petty and Mark Martin and Alan Kowicki, and he wants to get out there and earn as many points as he possibly can.
Well, you're right. You know, it filters back through the whole thing. There's pressure on everybody. The point leaders obviously have the most pressure, but it filters all the way back. There's people trying to keep their sponsors, people trying to impress their sponsors. There's all kinds of pressure on all of the drivers here in these last few races of the season.
So Bill Elliott from Dawsonville, Georgia is leading this AC Delco 500 with 215 laps completed. Waltrip second, followed by Labonte, Allison, and Wallace. The second 5, Kowicki, Marlin, Rudd, Bodine, and Martin. Beautiful country surrounding Rockingham, North Carolina, where we are today for the AC Delco 500. And at 222 laps, Bill Elliott leads Darrell Waltrip, Terry Labonte, Davey Allison, and 5th is Rusty Wallace. It's all being brought to you by Budweiser. Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. and by Eveready rechargeable batteries, rechargeable up to 1,000 times. There's the leader, Bill Elliott, who has been, I guess you could say, pretty dominant in this race so far. His only real serious challenge has come from Davey Allison. Now, there is Rusty Wallace, and although he leads Bill on the racetrack, he is at the tail end of the lead lap in 5th position. So Elliott has that much of a lead on 5th place, Rusty Wallace.
Well, there are 5 cars on the lead lap right now, and Rusty Wallace is the last of those 5 cars. With Bill Elliott leading, Earl Walton is still second, being challenged by Terry Labonte in 3rd place, and 4th is Davey Allison, and Rusty Wallace, of course, in the 5th position. And then there are 14 cars that are 1 lap down. Alan Kowicki, Sterling Marlin, 6th and 7th. In 8th place is Ricky Rudd. 9th is the car number 15 of Brett Bodine. 10th is Mark Martin. 11th is Mike Alexander. 12th, Harry Gant. 13th, Kyle Petty. Greg Sachs is 14th. Dale Earnhardt, 15th. Benny Parsons, 16th. Phil Parsons, 17th. Kenny Schrader, 18th. Richard Petty, 19th. And in 20th position is Jeff Bodine. All of those cars from 6th through 20th are just 1 lap down.
And he is about to approach the 83 car driven by Lake Speed, who was involved in one of our caution periods earlier in the day as he spun and caused the first caution of the afternoon on lap number 37.
Looks like Lake Speed's going to need to go to the body shop. That whole left rear quarter panel is gone off of his car from that first spin. It didn't look like he really hit much, but we never really were able to figure out what exactly happened to Lake Speed, but apparently his motor's running fine. His car is just pretty well torn out.
Bill Elliott has won 29 Winston Cup races. He looks for number 30 this afternoon. Of course, he leads as far as race winners in 1988, having taken the checkered flag on 6 different occasions: Bristol, Dover, Pocono, Daytona, Darlington, and Dover once again. There is Lake Speed at car number 83. And as we indicated, that car is not nearly as aerodynamic as it used to be. Behind him, the number 31 car of Jim Sauter. That is the slender U Oldsmobile. And then comes Alan Kowicki, who began this race from outside pole, outside of the front row. But he has not been all that competitive this afternoon, shown in 6th place, 1 lap down. There is the 17 and 26 cars, and they are at the moment, at least the 17 car is shown in 2nd position. Ricky Rudd in the 26 car, who ran very well last weekend, is not in the top 10 at the moment. There is Terry Labonte in car number 11, Sterling Marlin in car number 44, and then the number 10 car. And we may have a pass here, as indeed Sterling Marlin goes to the inside of Terry Labonte, but Labonte not really wanting to relinquish that position, but Sterling gets it.
But it's not for position, because Sterling is 1 lap down, so Labonte did not fight him too much.
Behind the number 11 car is number 10. And that, of course, is being driven by Ken Bouchard. Back of Bouchard on the racetrack is Michael Waltrip, who has been in and out of the pits numerous times in the past few laps because of the incident he had with Derry Cope.
You know, that car is sponsored by Country Time Lemonade, but it looks a little bit like a lemon right now. I don't think it's running up to speed.
There's Brett Bodine in car number 15, the Bud Moore car. Behind him, the number 12 machine. That, of course, is driven by Mike Alexander. And following him is the 21, the Wood Brothers Ford, driven by Kyle Petty. And then we continue our pan back and see Harry Gant in car number 33 and the 88 car driven by Greg Sachs. That's the Buddy Baker machine. And there is Mark Martin in car number 6, the Strollite Ford for Jack Roush. Then comes the 25 car driven by Ken Schrader, and he, of course, was involved in another one of our incidents that has caused a caution period. In front of the Kodak Oldsmobile driven by Rick Wilson is the 3 car of Dale Earnhardt. And there we see Rick battling these banks between 22 and 25 degrees here at Rockingham.
See him take a quick look up into the rearview mirror as he started into the turn. Sort of licking his lips there to moisten them a little bit, I guess.
Did he say hi, Mom? Is that what he just said?
Let's go to Dick Berggren, who has a comment on the Dale Earnhardt car that we see in front of Rick Wilson.
Well, Dale Earnhardt started this race loaded for bear. He started out with 15 sets of tires, and between he and Rusty Wallace, two teams spent $23,560 on tires. Right now, it's a moot point, however. The team thinks the problem with Earnhardt's car is in the rear end. They think perhaps the ratchet has gone. If that's the case, it's over. That's not something you can fix. You got to take the rear end apart on the car. Tough break for Earnhardt. He was really in the points thing until this. I don't know if he can make it up from here.
You know, we sort of implied during the open to the show that the Winston Cup seems to be slipping away from Dale Earnhardt, and that's indeed, it seems to be the case here also in this race. All right, behind the number 4 car, we continue our look at the competitors that are still on the racetrack, and that is Phil Parsons in car number 55. Then comes the 28 car driven by Davey Allison, who at the moment is shown in 4th position. And we have a car losing an engine down at turn number 1. Behind him is the 43 car driven by King Richard Petty.
And it looks like the Sterling Marlin car number 44 that is losing the engine. You can see Sterling with Piedmont Airlines under all
Rusty got his lap back, Ned. I'm sorry. The caution's out. Rusty beat Bill Elliott to the line. Now he's really back in lead lap.
Sterling Marlin was having a good race, but it appears to be over for him as the caution comes out, and this now is going to make things interesting because, as you said, Rusty Wallace has gotten back on the lead lap. He crossed the line ahead of Bill Elliott, and so now, after being 2 laps down at one point, Wallace has, as he has done so many times before this year, made up those laps and got himself back into a contending position. Meanwhile, here comes the leader, Bill Elliott, in for a stop. And Jerry Punch is right there.
Bill Elliott brings the cars forward to a halt. We expect a 4-tire change. We expect to see everyone off pit road. Elliott, the first car to make an entry. Second place car, Darrell Waltrip, also in the pit, so they will be changing 4 tires as well on the Tide Chevrolet. Waltrip on the top of your screen, Elliott on the bottom. Left side tires on Waltrip cars as well as left side tires on the Bill Elliott car. Elliott's crew almost finished. He is down and away. Waltrip's car getting tires on the left side up on the jack. Now Waltrip off the jack. He is down pit road. So those 2 cars having 4 tires and headed back to turn 1.
Once again, quick work by the pit crew. Send their drivers back out onto the racetrack in good shape. There is Darrell Waltrip, who will catch up now behind Bill Elliott. Also, Ricky Rudd beat Darrell Waltrip out of the pit area, but Ricky Rudd is not on the lead lap. There is Harold Kinder, the official starter for the NASCAR Winston Cup Series, and here comes Davey Allison in for a stop, and Jerry is there again.
Well, this yellow flag, a break for Davey Allison as well as Rusty Wallace. Remember, he had that last second stop, so Allison back in now for right side tires. Rusty Wallace having got his tire changed back on the Speedway. Wallace on the bottom of the screen, Davey Allison on the top, the Haviland Ford. Left side tires now for Jimmy Maycar and the Kodiak crew and the Rusty Wallace Pontiac. Likewise, left side tires here in the Haviland pit. Davey's car is down and away, and Rusty Wallace's car again gets pit stop finish. A little bit of wedge in the left side of Rusty Wallace's Kodiak Pontiac, and they're ready to put him back on the Speedway as the car now still on the jack, still trying to get that car dialed back in. They're taking some extra time here under yellow to make sure after making up 2 laps to make sure everything is going okay, and the Rusty Wallace car heads down pit road. So we are under caution again here at North Carolina Motor Speedway. Stay tuned, we'll be back.
Top 5, not quite halfway through. Bill Elliott, Darrell Waltrip, Terry Labonte, Davey Allison, and Rusty Wallace, those 5 cars on the lead lap. Well, the inaugural inductees into the Motorsports Hall of Fame to be located in Novi, Michigan were announced here at North Carolina Motor Speedway yesterday. It is indeed a group of very distinguished personalities, and they're involved in many facets of the sport of motorsports. And here is a closer look at those inducted into the Hall of Fame. A.J. Foyt, the first 4-time winner of the Indianapolis 500 and all-time IndyCar champion. Richard Petty, all-time NASCAR champion and undisputed king of stock car racing. Don Garlits, Big Daddy, the first superstar of drag racing. Bill Hill, America's first World Grand Prix driving champion. Cannonball Baker,
motorcycle racing pioneer and setter of hundreds of records in stock passenger cars. Bill Muncy, the winningest unlimited hydroplane powerboat racer in history. Jimmy Doolittle, the air racing legend and war hero. And Barney Oldfield, colorful barnstormer from the early 20th century. The temporary home of the Hall of Fame will be the new $8.2 million Novi Civic Center. However, groundbreaking for a permanent Hall of Fame structure is scheduled for 1989. We'll be back at Rockingham after this. Still under caution here at Rockingham. We should be going green in just a few moments. Tires have been a big story throughout this race, and Larry Newber can update us.
Bob, it's been a monumental story. It really has. There's been a lot of conversation. We've been monitoring the scanner down here, and every team all race long has been talking about him. Each of the crew chiefs asking the driver lap after lap, what's it feel like? Do you want to make any changes? Remember, 10 cars started this race on Hoosier tires. 4 have changed to Goodyears, and the other 6 cars, we're kind of summarizing here broadly, they are saying that they will also change. But so far, 6 still have the Hoosier tires on. Dick Bergman is standing by. We're getting ready to go green. The green flag is back out. You can see Bill Elliott still up front, followed by Ricky Rudd and Darrell Waltrip down to Dick a little later now, back up top.
Lap 244, and the green flag comes out. We're just a couple of laps away from the halfway point. And Ricky Rudd is on the back bumper of Bill Elliott, but our scoring indicates that he is 1 lap down. So Ricky Rudd is not on the lead lap in car number 26. Second position is still Darrell Waltrip.
This might be the best position Ricky Rudd has been in since he went a lap down to get his lap back. He'd been caught back in the traffic on the restarts in previous caution flags, but right now he's right up there with Bill Elliott. He'd shown some strength early in the race that he might have and Kowicki is off the pace right now. Car number 7 of Alan Kowicki.
Car is slowing dramatically down the backstretch. He keeps it in the middle of the racetrack so that those can pass on the high side and the low side. But Alan Kowicki has a problem and is headed for pit road.
It must be a flat tire. You know, the car slid up on him in the turns, and then he just had to fight his way through the traffic to get down into the low groove to get in the pits. Let's go to Dick Bergman.
Well, he's in, and they're going to change the right side tires on this car. Crews are just absolutely riveted to this automobile as it came down. Kowicki keeps thinking he's got a shot to win one of these things. So far he can, and this is just why. He has just gone down a lap. The leader has just gone by Kowicki. He is down 1 more.
That'll make him 2 laps down, so Alan Kowicki has a lot of catching up to do. But he has a fast race car. Rusty Wallace has already proven that you can make up a couple of laps because he's done it here today.
The 17 car of Darrell Waltrip and the 11 car of Terry Labonte, and this is 2nd and 3rd right here.
Boy, look at the improvements they've made on that 17 car of Darrell Waltrip. You know, earlier in the race, he was right up against the fence, way up high, trying to run low. Now he's up into 2nd place, and the car is sticking to the bottom of the racetrack. That crew has really worked on that car and got it handled.
Very good point as Darrell Waltrip passes Benny Parsons, who is 3 laps down to the field. But yeah, that car is much lower in the racetrack than it was earlier in the event. As the leader, Bill Elliott, clicks off another lap. Here's a side-by-side race involving the number 15 car of Brett Bodine and the 27 of Rusty Wallace.
Of course, Brett is 1 lap down. I believe you said Benny is 3 laps down. He's only 1 lap down, so we'll put Benny back up there in a big group of cars that are 1 lap down.
There is Benny running alongside of the number 11 car.
Well, Benny looks like he's really running pretty good. You know, we haven't seen much of him all day, but he's not falling back at all from Terry Labonte.
No, he's had a good run going all day long, and he would really like to have a good, impressive run here at his home track. This has not been one of his better racetracks on the circuit.
There is Rusty Wallace, who continues to scratch and claw his way back up to the front. Let's go to Dick Bergman, who's with Barry Dotson, the crew chief on the Wallace car.
Well, Barry, it seems as if every time you guys have trouble with your race car, you win the race. And I'm sort of wondering how your stomach is with all these terrible things that happen to you.
I lost my stomach probably 2 or 3 years ago. We don't worry about it when we get a lap down. I can't say we don't worry because we do, but we do the same thing we always do. We run as hard as we can, keep our fingers crossed, and never give up. That's the key. The car's pretty good, but we got a long way to go.
And they plan to do it all the way. Right now, Jerry punches in the pit of Darrell Waltrip, another guy who hopes to go all the way. Jerry?
Well, you said they've done a lot of work on this car. Indeed, they have. And here's the man that's responsible for it, Jeff Hammond. Jeff, the car really working well on the bottom of the racetrack. What are the major adjustments you guys have made?
Well, Jerry, we've been working a lot with tire stagger today, and we've been working on chassis also. So, you know, everything's starting to come together right now, a little bit better. But, you know, we're just halfway. Still got a long ways to go in the race, so we just got to keep working on it. We still haven't been able to pass Bill and keep Rusty behind us. So we got our hands full right now. We got some awful fast race cars out there.
Well, the watchword for Darrell Waltrip and Jeff Hammond was patience, as they have been patient all afternoon, and now that's paying off. They're running up front. Alan Kowicki back in, and his problems continue.
And Jerry, we have a report that the right front tire that they just put on there not too many laps ago equalized, and so he had no choice but to come back in. He went another lap down. The leaders are coming up on him. He might go another lap down, which will put him a total of 4.
Here's our Napa mid-race recap. Bill Elliott leads at the halfway point. He, of course, started this race from the pole position. He has led 160 of the 246 laps at an average speed of 112.034 miles an hour. There have been 6 cautions for a total of 40 laps, 9 leaders, 12 lead changes, 33 cars of the 40 remain on the track, and 5 cars are currently on the lead lap. Those that have dropped out of competition include Rodney Combs, Jimmy Means, Derek Cope, Sterling Marlin, also Eddie Virschwale, Joe Ruttman, and Brad Knopfsinger. So that brings you up to date on what's happened so far in the first half of this race. I'll tell you, gentlemen, Bill Elliott definitely looks strongest, but I just have a feeling that Darrell Waltrip is going to finish very well in this race. He's driving a very smart race.
Well, I don't think there's any question what he'll finish well. He is driving a good, smart race, and this is his kind of race. He has proven over the years that he's one of the smarter race drivers, and they've continued to work on the car, as Jeff Hammond says, and getting him in real good shape. I've been a little surprised that Ricky Rudd hasn't been able to make a better move towards trying to get back in the lead lap around Bill Elliott there, but he's driving his heart out, so I guess he just simply doesn't have the muscle to do it right now.
Next to Richard Petty, who has the most wins here at the Rockingham racetrack, 11. Darrell Waltrip is second on that list with 4 wins.
Well, this track here at Rockingham it really pays off the smart drivers, the smart crews, the ones that can keep adjusting their cars during the race, the drivers who can kind of approach it as an endurance race and run steady. You know, Darrell Waltrip, I don't think he's led any laps yet, but look at, he's only that far behind the leader. He's kept the leader in sight. The crew kept working on a car that really improved it.
That's what I say by driving a smart race. He's got the leader in sight, and things appear to be going very well for that car right now. Ricky Rudd, meanwhile, has closed in on Bill Elliott in Ricky's attempt to get his lost lap back. But Elliott maintaining that position, the car sliding high on the racetrack, but Ricky Rudd not able to make the move and get the lap back. Dale Jarrett has gone to the garage area, so there goes one of our in-car cameras as Dale goes back for hopefully some work on that car that will put him back in the race. Here is Rusty Wallace and Terry Labonte doing battle. Labonte in number 11 and Rusty Wallace in 27, and this is the race for 3rd place. Wallace a little high and showing some tire smoke.
Plenty of tire smoke off that Rusty Wallace car. All day long we've seen that rear tire smoking on Rusty's car. Here you see Bill Elliott and Ricky Rudd. Bill Elliott hasn't smoked a tire yet. Ricky Rudd smoking just a little bit as he's trying to hold it low and trying to get under Bill Elliott.
This effort by Ricky Rudd to get the lap back is just not paying off as Bill tries to keep him back that full lap.
Bill knows that if Ricky Rudd can get back in the lead lap and another caution should come out, that's just another car that he'd have to worry about as far as position's concerned. But Ricky might be running him a little bit harder right now than he would like to run at this point of the race. They're just past the halfway mark, and certainly he's having to run awfully hard to keep Ricky a lap down.
What this is doing is allowing Darrell to catch up. Darrell's really coming right into view here.
Elliott hanging tough out on the outside of the racetrack as Rudd using the inside groove trying to move around him, and you can see certainly, as Gary mentioned, that Darrell Waltrip, as they race side by side, is coming up on him. Darrell would like to lead this. He has led a lap, I think, during some of the pit stop exchanges, but he'd like to take the lead during green flag running.
Waltrip now within just a matter of car lengths behind Bill Elliott. Waltrip closing in as Elliott has his hands full trying to keep Ricky Rudd back a lap. Now Rudd makes the pass coming out of turn number 4 and gets the lap back cleanly. Let's see if Elliott will contest him for that, or if he'll be content to allow Ricky to get that lap back as Elliott now pulls to the inside, now falls back into single file formation going down the backstretch. But we have a good battle shaping up here for the lead as Darrell Waltrip is really coming on strong in the Tide Chevrolet on the low side of the track. Now look at this. This could be a change of leader here as Waltrip makes a bid for it. There is slower lap traffic ahead and Darrell's going to have to back off as Elliott has the higher line in the first and second turns. But Darrell Waltrip is really challenging now Bill Elliott for the lead.
And you wonder if Elliott is thinking about points right here and says, do I need to be racing this hard for the lead, or is his car not working quite as well as it was earlier? Well, it's hard to say, but certainly he does not want to take any unnecessary chances right now. He doesn't want to race too long side by side with Darrell Waltrip. If Darrell gets up under him, as it looks like he's going to do right now, I don't believe that Elliott will fight him too long.
Darrell really has to be feeling good about the adjustments the crew made. His car now is challenging for the lead. He's not smoking any tires. Elliott's not smoking any tires. I don't think either of these two cars are really showing everything they've got, even at this point in the race.
Darrell Waltrip has won this particular event on 3 different occasions, in 81 and 82, and most recently in 1985.
His car certainly working down on the inside of the racetrack right now. As Gary Nelson pointed out earlier in the race, he could not keep it down there. So the changes that they've made on it is working, and Darrell Waltrip is a guy that likes to run low on the racetrack.
Side by side as they cross the stripe to complete lap number 268.
This is really a good race for the lead between these two. You know, Darrell Waltrip really wants the lead, but he knows it's a long race. He's smart enough to know not to abuse his tires, not to overheat them. Bill Elliott wants to win the championship, plus he wants to win this race.
Let's take a look at the top 10 as we have it at the moment. It's Bill Elliott leading the race with Darrell Waltrip second, then Rusty Wallace, Terry Labonte, and Davey Allison. 6 through 10, Ricky Rudd, Brett Bodine, Kyle Petty, Greg Saxon, Ken Schrader. Even some fall and Halloween type decorations here at North Carolina Motor Speedway in Rockingham. For the AC Delco 500, the top 5, Elliott, Waltrip, Wallace, Labonte, and Davey Allison. That's with 273 of the 492 laps completed. That's how close first and second is. Elliott in number 9 and Waltrip in 17 are that close. And not too far behind is, and Waltrip is slowing. Waltrip is slowing on the track, dropping to the inside. That's going to put Rusty Wallace in second position. Let's see what's wrong with Darrell.
Well, Rusty has been steadily gaining on the leaders, but now Waltrip has dropped down to the inside. Something wrong with that car. It looks like there might be some smoke coming from it.
Motor problems. Darrell sensed the problem. It looked like he pushed in the clutch, went to neutral, and he tried it one more time, let the clutch out, and smoke came out the exhaust. Looks like a valve-related problem.
So Waltrip's day may be over. Dr. Jerry Punch is in the Darrell Waltrip pit as Darrell rolls in. I'm not sure he's going to stop in the pit. Nope, he's going right behind the wall, Jerry. And the crew takes off behind him, and Darrell knows that it's all over for him. So much for my prediction that Darrell Waltrip is going to finish very high in this race. He sure had a great race, though, while it lasted. Now look at this. Rusty Wallace has caught up with Bill Elliott. He has come back this time from 2 laps down. Now, gee, that's nothing to what it was at North Wilkesboro when he came from 3 laps down, and at Charlotte when he was 3 laps down. Every time, even at Dover this year, he was also laps down. But each time he comes back, and this is the way it is right now with Elliott, the points leader, leading the race, and Rusty Wallace second in points, second in the race.
And look at him smoke those tires. He is driving the wheels off of that thing today.
He puts the pedal to the metal. There's no doubt about it. Rusty Wallace races flat out. Bill Elliott is more of a finesse driver. He works his way around. He feels the car. He tries not to smoke the tires. Rusty Wallace doesn't care about any of that. He runs flat out, and when he sees a chance to pass Bill Elliott for the lead, you know he's really trying hard right here. Look at the tire smoke.
Boy, he got a little sideways that time.
Yeah, that can't be good for him, really, to be smoking the tires that bad. But that's heating that right rear tire up, and you do that too many times, and you'll see him slipping back a little bit.
Well, Rusty Wallace knows that when you put your right foot down to the floor, that your car goes fast. Look at Barry Dodson. He doesn't look too worried right now. He's giving Rusty the lap time. See him talking on the radio? He's telling Rusty, you're right there. Here's your lap time. Run low, run high. He gives him different lap times, and Rusty can compare them.
Jerry Punch has caught up with Darrell Waltrip. Jerry?
Well, DW, looks like everything was going your way. The Tide machine was making its way to the front. Then suddenly you're here. What happened?
I don't know, Jerry. Something broke in the motor. We're not turning it very much, and I was driving pretty conservatively. I wanted to race Bill right there to see what kind of shape I was in. Maybe I should have waited a while. But anyway, the car was great. The Tide Chevy was running good. Thank the Lord for a good day, what we had, and we'll be at Phoenix next week.
It looked like you probably could handle Bill pretty well when you pulled up on him. Now that you're out, you think that maybe Rusty Wallace is the man that can handle Bill Elliott?
Well, it looks like it'll be between them. They're running, they're both running real good. I have a lot of car left. I just hate them in here.
Well, Walter might have been the guy that could have handled Bill Elliott, but we'll never know. He's in the garage area here now at Rockingham.
Rusty Wallace is within 2 car lengths of Bill Elliott, and Elliott is definitely got a rear view mirror full of the Rusty Wallace Kodiak Pontiac car number 27. Is he content, gentlemen, right now, since he sees Bill Elliott and he's that close? Is he content to stay there?
Well, he might be. I don't know, but Rusty Wallace likes to lead if he possibly can. But I think when he saw him, he got close enough there a moment ago and started burning that right rear tire. I think that took a little bit away from him.
Well, I think Rusty, you know, in his mind, he thinks if he can put pressure on Bill Elliott, if he can stay on his bumper, maybe Bill Elliott will make a mistake. But I kind of doubt Bill Elliott's going to make any driving errors today. And Bill Elliott looks so steady and so smooth.
It's Elliott and Rusty Wallace fighting for the lead in the AC Delco 500 from North Carolina Motor Speedway in Rockingham, and we'll be right back. The Winston Cup Speed World presentation today from North Carolina Motor Speedway here on ESPN. It's the AC Delco 500, and our story is Bill Elliott and Rusty Wallace. First and second. Wallace has come from 2 laps down. Here also is a good battle on the racetrack for 3rd position. This involves Terry Labonte in car number 11 and Davey Allison in number 28.
Well, I tell you what, you know, Rusty may not have the tires right now to pass Bill Elliott, but if a lead foot is what it takes, he's definitely got that. You can tell every time Rusty puts his foot to the floor, the rear tires smoke. As you see, look at Davey Allison going around the 11 car of Terry Labonte.
The Ford of Davey Allison on the inside and the Chevrolet of Terry Labonte on the outside, and Davey just powers right around him and takes over 3rd spot.
Well, he's having had to play catch-up, made a little slip there, since he made the miscue of jumping the flag on the restart after having made a pit stop late in the caution flag period, and he's been playing catch-up ever since then. But now Davey's back in 3rd place and back in the thick of this thing.
All right, now we're watching Rusty Wallace, and we still see a little bit of tire smoke from that car. You would think that he would want to save that right rear, but we continue to see tire smoke roll off. And look at the bobble here last lap, turn number 4 by Wallace.
He was trying hard to move up on Bill Elliott as he came off that turn and did move up on him, but you can see the back end breaks loose. He was trying just a little bit too hard, and that cost him a little bit.
He saved that nicely. That car was almost sideways on him, but he saved it. As a matter of fact, didn't lose too much. So the guys that are in contention for the Winston Cup are battling out on the racetrack for one more time. Rusty Wallace, in your mind, what do you have to do to win that much sought after Winston Cup title?
In my mind, what I'm going to have to do is just do what I've been doing. Luckily, I've been not getting any accidents except for that small little fender bender I had last week, which didn't tear the car up any. Charlotte went all right, and everything's been going all right up to that. I just got to make darn sure that I drive hard, but yeah, I look in front of me pretty good and make darn sure who I'm passing is going to give me enough room and things like that. The car is up to the crew. I look at it every now and then, but they've got everything double checked, and I feel pretty comfortable with the endurance of the car. But it's going to be a tough one. I got to keep doing what I've been doing. I can't think of anything else to do.
Well, he said that he has to make darn sure he runs the car hard. Well, he is definitely doing that at the moment. He finished 14th in the race here in March. He is currently second. Let's go to Dr. Jerry Punch on pit road.
You know, Rusty said the car was up to the crew, but what they did is they brought his favorite race car here. This is the car they nicknamed Whitney. In fact, when they lost 2 laps and were down 2 laps to the leader, Barry Dodson told me today, we don't worry, we've got Whitney here. And remember Whitney's track record, I'm going to tell you about it. This is the car that Rusty Wallace used to win in Michigan. The same car that he came from 2 laps down to win this last month at Charlotte. This car finished second in the Southern 500, and its worst finish of the year, absolute worst finish, was third at Dover this last month. So it's a pretty good race car. It's the same car that's planning on taking to Phoenix and running the season curtain call in Atlanta here next month.
Well, I'm sure they're hoping that Whitney's track shoes don't wear out here, because tires have been a major problem through the race, and we've seen tire smoke from the Rusty Wallace car, and they're hoping that those tires hold up and that Rusty can stay right there near Bill Elliott. Rusty went a lap down on lap number 60 when he had a tire go down. He went 2 laps down on lap 128, but he's made them up. And here is Rick Wilson in the pit area. They've already changed tires on the right side of the car. Now they go to the left side and make a 4-tire stop change. And there is Rick Wilson waiting in the race car.
He's another of those drivers that qualified on Hoosier tires, but now they have put Goodyear tires in.
He saw him while he was sitting there in the pits. He adjusted, he tightened up his seat belts. That's a good thing for the drivers to think about while they get a chance to pull down on those lap belts. Make sure they're tight. As they sweat and as they mold themselves into the seat a little better, those belts will get a little bit looser during the day.
While he gains speed, let's just stay with Rick Wilson on a lap around Rockingham.
Big dial there in the middle, that's his tachometer. You can see it climbing, climbing, climbing. Now it's slowly dropping. Hard to see what the numbers are. I'd say that's about 5,000 right there.
Oh boy, he had to take evasive action there around Ken Schrader.
Yeah, it's climbing, climbing, almost 8,000, then he lets off the throttle. That orange deal there, that's a light. That's a warning light for when he loses. If he loses oil pressure, that light comes on and tells the driver there's something serious about to happen to the motor.
Just some great natural sound there from that race car as Rick Wilson gets off the throttle and on the throttle. And we have a car spinning out of turn number 4. It's the number 10 car driven by Ken Bouchard from Pittsburgh, Massachusetts. He spins and stops at the entrance to pit road and just pulls into pit road. So it does bring out another caution period. And we'll watch. The leader has already taken the caution flag, so we don't have a race back to the caution.
And this will be a break for Ricky Rudd, who had gotten back in the lead lap. So that means we have 6 cars on the lead lap now.
And we're going to see some wholesale pit stops once again as Bill Elliott, Rusty Wallace, Alan Kulwicki, and others come in. Jerry Punch reports.
Well, let's watch the leader cars pit here. Bill Elliott pitting. Rusty Wallace on the bottom of your screen. Bill Elliott's Coors Ford on the top of your screen. Right side tires already on the Elliott car, and the Kodiak Pontiac also on the left side, getting left side tires. Will be a 4-tire change. Rusty Wallace's crew doing an excellent job in the pits as they get those left side tires changed. Elliott's car off the jack. Rusty Wallace's car still on the jack. And now Wallace is down. It'll be a race down pit road, and Rusty Wallace will beat Bill Elliott back on track in turn 1.
Oh, but Bill swoops around him at the end of pit road. Is that okay? Is that legal?
Well, that man standing there with the little sign, he's the judge. That's where the race is, to that point. So whoever got to that that guy at the end of pit road first, that man, that official is the judge on that.
And I think Rusty was the man that got there first. Rusty has since moved around the car number 9 of Bill Elliott. Let's look at it again. As they come out of the pits, you can see all the work being done. Here's Elliott now as he comes back out. And here's Wallace coming out in front of him. He clearly is in front of him, no question about it, even though Elliott has a lot of speed as he comes down through there. But Rusty gets back to that white line first. If that's the mark, then the official, you can see him get out of the way. And let me correct myself. I said a moment ago that was 6 cars in the lead lap. Since Darrell Waltrip has dropped out, there are only 5 cars in the lead lap.
So Rusty Wallace does indeed take over the lead from Bill Elliott as he beat Bill out of the pits. So we'll resume after this message. Extensive work is being done on the Dale Earnhardt car by the Richard Childress crew. They're working on the right front tire, and now they get it off the jacks, and it goes back out onto the racetrack.
We thought for a moment they were changing the right front spring on it, but that's illegal, so evidently they didn't do that.
Well, now let's examine this strategy once again. Now watch Wallace beat Elliott out of the pits. But the important thing here is the location that Wallace has in the pit area, Gary.
Well, you can see the closer you are to that man that has that sign, the better chances you are. Here, Rusty Wallace had a longer pit stop, but he doesn't have as far to go to that white line where that man who's the judge stands. Rusty Wallace going about 30 miles an hour, Bill Elliott going about 80, but Rusty is the first one to the line, so he takes the lead. Now, the pole winner gets really the defending champion gets the first choice of where he's going to pit. The pole winner gets the second choice. So Bill Elliott had a choice. He could have taken that pit that Rusty Wallace had, but I think Bill Elliott chose that pit near the garage area just in case they needed to get something off of their truck from the garage area. They'd be real nearby all their spare parts.
But every time this afternoon that we have seen Elliott and Wallace pit at the same time, Rusty has beaten Bill out of the pit simply because Rusty is pitted further toward turn number 1. Here's a green flag. We go back to racing with 306 laps completed at the Rock, and Rusty Wallace leads Bill Elliott.
Maybe we can tell here if Rusty was just sitting back there a moment ago and not trying to pass Elliott. This is the first time that he's been able to get out front in a long, long time since back early in the race. See if he can pull away or what he wants to do.
These last few laps, these next few laps, I should say, may tell us what is going to happen in the last few laps of the race as we see some real tight passing and dodging and jockeying for position in the field. That's the 25 car of Ken Schrader, the 5 of Jeff Bodine, and the 6 of Mark Martin. Watch Ken Schrader's car in the middle, the red number 25.
Kyle Petty down on the inside in car number 21 as Terry Labonte in car number 11 goes by on the outside.
Some contact there with the number 6 car of Mark Martin, but everything is okay, and Martin now is right behind Jeff Bodine.
Well, this is the time of year. The pressure's on everywhere, all the way back into the pack. Everybody is really trying to get as much as they can out of their equipment today. They really need, whether it's points they're after, whether it's sponsors, whatever the thing is, a lot of the drivers just trying to keep their jobs for next year. Everybody is really under a lot of pressure.
And that's battle for position there as Mark Martin moves around the car number 5 of Jeff Bodine. They're each 1 lap down. And so is the 25 car of Kenny Schrader, the 3 car of Dale Earnhardt. They're all 1 lap down. Benny Parsons there in car number 90. All of them are battling for positions. Cars 6 through 14 right now are being shown as 1 lap down.
As you look at Dale Earnhardt there, they did some major work on his car. It looks like it's running a little better. He's not all the way up against the fence, at least not yet. You know, they had the front of the car jacked up just when we came back from that last commercial break, and they had several crew members under the right front wheel well working on the front suspension. Apparently, it's hard to say what they did, but it does look better.
Here comes Benny Parsons to the low side of Jeff Bodine, but look at this. Number 11 car of Terry Labonte, and ahead of him, the number 21 car of Kyle Petty. Let's go to Dick Berggren.
Well, the story on the number 11 car is that it's been loose all day, and no matter what they've done with tires, it has not tightened the car up. So at the last pit stop, they raised the hood, and they put a little rubber wedge in the spring in the right front, and that should load the car a little bit better. And as you can see, it is running better right now. He's currently running in 5th spot.
He is indeed, and one of those cars on the lead lap. There are only 5. Labonte is one of them. The lead held by Rusty Wallace in car number 27, and we're going to take another break and be right back to North Carolina Motor Speedway. In the AC Delco 500 from Rockingham with 314 laps completed, it is Rusty Wallace leading the race. Bill Elliott is second. Then comes Davey Allison. Ricky Rudd has battled back to fourth, and in fifth position is number 11, driven by Terry Labonte. Well, we're seeing Rusty Wallace maintain a pretty good separation here between himself and Bill Elliott. Does that tell us anything?
Well, he's pulling away, no question about that, and it is certainly telling us that he has a very strong car at this point. Now, whether Elliott, the third place car, is pretty far behind him, farther behind him than Bill is behind Rusty Wallace, so he really has nothing to worry about. He can sit there and run in a good, clean position, so maybe he is just content running there where he is and not trying to challenge Rusty too much, because there is a lot of time left in this race, and he certainly doesn't want to burn his tires up or burn his car up at this point.
On that high shot we saw of Bill Elliott coming down towards the start-finish line, it almost looked like he took his right hand off the steering wheel and just kind of rested it over on that part of the roll cage there, like he's relaxed, like he's just sitting back, keeping his eye on Rusty Wallace, keeping his eye on his mirror, make sure nobody gains on him, just kind of settling back, waiting for the finish now.
Safety, of course, is on everyone's mind at an auto race, and certainly at a Winston Cup race. And there is a Lifeline helicopter standing by here at Rockingham just in case something goes wrong. Of course, we hope it doesn't. Here's Dr. Jerry Punch with a further report.
Well, Bob, it's probably the biggest improvement you can make at any racetrack anywhere, and the drivers are really excited about having this helicopter here. It's from North Carolina Baptist Hospital Air Care Trauma Team. Now, they come from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. It's only about a 30-minute flight here, and the drivers have been patting NASCAR Vice President Les Richter on the back all week because this helicopter was scheduled to be here, as well as at North Wilkesboro and at Martinsville. A real improvement. They hope they don't need it, but if they get in a bad crunch here, they got one of the best trauma teams in the country just right here in this helicopter. They'll load them up in 30 minutes. They'll be at Baptist Hospital in Winston-Salem, and that's really an improvement medical care-wise here on the NASCAR Tour.
And that has to be a very big load off some of the drivers' minds, too, knowing that there is that kind of medical care standing by for them.
Certainly it is something that would relieve their mind. As Jerry said, they hope that they don't need it, but you never know, and having that kind of equipment here is certainly a big plus factor.
Well, hats off to NASCAR. That is a good thing for them to have that helicopter. You know, I think Bobby Allison is probably the best example of what a helicopter can do for a driver who's critically injured. So many stories I've heard about that injury, the injuries Bobby Allison received at Pocono, that he really did benefit from having a helicopter at the racetrack.
There again is the separation between first and second, and if anything, it is growing. Rusty Wallace is pulling away from Bill Elliott.
And according to the team of Rusty Wallace, they are clocking both cars, and they say that Bill Elliott is running about the same lap times that he's been running all day long, and Rusty Wallace is pulling away from him a little bit. So Rusty Wallace car certainly dialed in at this point.
What about the third guy in contention for the Winston Cup battle? Dale Earnhardt in car number 3. Well, he has worked his way back up to 11th position. Now, he is a lap down, but still in 11th, and as you can see, he's right ahead of Jeff Bodine. Let's go down to Dick Berggren, who's in the Earnhardt pit.
Well, they've been working on this automobile all day. There seems to be some sort of a spring problem, but these guys seem to have listened to a bust of Louis Chevrolet from the infield at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Inscribed under that is the words, "Never give up," and they do not ever give up, but springs are the problem. Larry Newber, show us some springs.
Well, Dick, here they are in the Hardee's cutaway car. They're hidden down in here, and the only way you can work on them during the race, of course, is take off the right front wheel, as we have seen the Childers Schomerding people doing several times. You know, it's not legal to change these during a race unless it's broken, and that's what they've been dealing with. There's probably been conversation as to, hey, can we change this or not? And unless it's damaged or broken, it's got to stay on. But that's what it looks like. That's where it's at. And it's not a very easy place to work with, is it, Gary Nelson, during a race?
Well, you know, NASCAR just came up with that rule in the last several weeks about you can't change a front spring during a race unless the spring itself is broken. And they're really, some of the guys in the garage were kidding about it, calling it the Darrell Waltrip rule, because Darrell tried to change a front spring arrow screw at Dover the other day, or maybe 4 or 5 races back, and they couldn't get the spring in time. The pace car was coming. They tried to shut the hood, and Darrell took off and the hood flew up and the spring still wasn't in the car right. Just all kinds of problems. And NASCAR said, well, we know how to solve that. No more spring changes. So I think the guys are kind of kidding about it in the garage area, blaming it on Darrell Waltrip.
Here is Rusty Wallace, the leader of the race. And second place belongs to Bill Elliott. Now, Elliott will get the bonus points for leading the most laps here this afternoon. The yellow flag is out on the racetrack for the 8th time today. We look around and try to find out why it is out, and we don't see any particular thing wrong. Could be a piece of debris on the racetrack. But in any case, the caution comes out and the pace is slowed once again.
Well, they really slowed down. Rusty Wallace just kind of idling down the back straightaway. I think he's watching for debris just in case he decides to stay on the racetrack and not make a pit stop.
Let's see if the leaders choose to come in this time.
I bet they will.
We just had a caution.
He's going to try to fake him out, and he didn't do it. He just came right on in.
Here comes Elliott in with Wallace, and here's Jerry Punch.
Lead cars again get the battle on pit road. They've been battling on the racetrack. Rusty Wallace on top of your screen, Bill Elliott on the bottom. Right side tires for both these cars as Bill Elliott scores forward. Now the Jack moving around on the left side. Also the left side, the Kodiak Pontiac. Barry Dawson on the Jack on the left side of that car, number 27, Jimmy May car. And Harold Elliott and the rest of that crew working on the car number 27. It'll be a race. Who will win it? Elliott's car off the Jack. Wallace's car now out, and they will race down pit road. And this time it's not nearly as close as Rusty Wallace will beat him by about 4 car lengths back to turn 1.
Same situation, though, that we have seen throughout the afternoon. Rusty and Bill with just about identical pit stops in terms of the time it takes. However, Rusty wins the battle onto the racetrack. We have a tire that's gone onto the racetrack after it rolled off of one of the cars. So we are under caution here at Rockingham. We'll be right back. ESPN Speed World today at North Carolina Motor Speedway in Rockingham for the AC Delco 500. And next Sunday at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, we begin our coverage of the NFL with the game between the Washington Redskins and the Houston Oilers. That's next Sunday at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. And coming up right after our race here at Rockingham, we'll have the Grand Prix of Southern California from Del Mar, the final IMSA race of 1988. That's coming up right after our coverage of this Winston Cup event. Let's go to Dr. Jerry Punch. We had a tire that got onto the racetrack after it was hit on pit road. Jerry, what happened?
Well, that's a problem. After they changed tires here in the pits, the right side tires are laying out on pit road, and Brett Bodine was making his way. He was almost back to about third gear, headed down pit road, when that tire rolled out in front of his Crisco Ford, and he hit it with the right side of the car. Now, he is back here in the pits because the right front tire is towed out. It means it's pointing outward instead of straight ahead, so they are trying to set the tow lid on the car, and when Bodine hit that tire, he went way in the air, about 20 feet, went over the pit wall, bounced out in the grass, and rolled up on the racetrack in turn 1. But a tough break for Brett Bodine. It wasn't his fault. That tire rolled out and hit the front of his car as he came down pit road. Tough break for Bodine.
Well, you can see that man. He's loosened the tie rod. He's adjusting the toe out. Just think of you know, if you stand and look down at your feet, and you turn your toes outward. That's toe out. And the front wheels they don't agree on which way they want to go. The right one wants to go right, and the left one wants to go left. So they have to adjust that to make the car easier and make it competitive.
So Bodine goes back out onto the racetrack as we remain under caution here at The Rock in the Sandhills of North Carolina. Bill Elliott has a problem. Jerry Punch, explain.
Tough problem for Bill Elliott. The green came back out. Elliott went into turn 1 and 2. The car got sideways. He tried to get through traffic. He made it back to pit road for a unscheduled right side tire change. Here's Elliott headed down pit road, and here comes the leader, Rusty Wallace.
Bill Elliott goes a lap down. So now, after driving such a strong race through 336 laps, Bill Elliott's a lap down. Let's watch what happened now as the cars came out of corner number 4 for the restart.
Well, Rusty Wallace up on the outside. He's the leader. Bill Elliott right behind him. We see Kyle Petty way down on the inside trying to get by. Elliott looks like tried to make a move on Rusty Wallace, but look, the car almost goes up to the wall as it goes into turn 1. Then he has a hard time getting the car back down, all the other traffic coming along, getting it back down so he can get into the pits.
And getting into the pits was not easy because look at the cars that will jam up behind him as he tried to get to the inside.
And fortunately, that car number 40 did slow down, and Rick Wilson did slow too, seeing what problem Elliott had, so he did get into the pits, but boy, it was a tough job for him.
So Bill Elliott, as we said, a lap down to the field now, as Rusty Wallace has control of the AC Delco 500.
Well, Davey Allison now has moved up into second place. In third place is Terry Labonte, and in fourth place is Ricky Rudd. Now only 4 cars on the lead lap.
As Bill Elliott is a lap down in 5th position. Here is Wallace.
Boy, what a tough deal for Bill Elliott. You know, that right front tire, it had to have been the one that was flat. He had to drive through all that traffic and at the same time push the button on his radio and tell his pit crew members that he was coming into the pit with a flat tire.
Battle for 3rd position between Terry Labonte in number 11 and Ricky Rudd in number 26. And Rudd has had an outstandingly strong performance in the Quaker State Buick.
Yeah, he has fought back from being a lap down because of an unscheduled pit stop, and he's back in the thick of this thing. We certainly can't count him out.
Terry Labonte has also been strong today, having run in the top 5 or 10 just about all race long. And of course, the Junior Johnson team running a Chevrolet through the end of this year and then going to Ford for 1989. And we have a spin involving Phil Parsons. Phil Parsons spins.
That rear tire's flat.
And it does bring out a caution. Yellow is out.
Well, at least this will let Bill Elliott catch back up. He wasn't too far behind Rusty Wallace, but at least he'll be able to start down on the inside on the restart of the race, and then if he has the muscle, he can pull around whoever is leading the race at that point. Now, we know right now that Rusty Wallace is, but will they make pit stops? We'll see as they come around, as we see Phil Parsons' car with the damage on the left rear, a lot of smoke coming from it, that left rear tire flat on the Crown Skull Oldsmobile.
Yes, indeed. It is Bill Elliott that is making a pit stop, and so is Davey Allison, but Rusty Wallace remains on the racetrack. Here's Jerry Punch.
Well, both Bill Elliott and Davey Allison pitting together here up toward the turn 4 section of pit road. And what a break for Bill Elliott. It was indeed a right front tire that had a small piece of metal in it. It cut down and the tire was going down. So they will go around the left side of the Bill Elliott car. They're already on the left side of the Davey Allison Haviland Ford. Robert Yates and the crew putting left side tires on the car number 28, the car number 9. Now Bill Elliott already has left side tires. Comes off the jack. Elliott down the way, Allison down the way, and Bill Elliott will win that battle back down pit road.
So they go out of the pit area with Bill Elliott just ahead of Davey Allison. Let's take a look at what happened to Phil Parsons.
Well, he was already sideways down on the inside of the racetrack. It looked like the left rear tire of his car blew, and that's perhaps what put Phil into the spin. He spins it down on the inside, out of the way of the other traffic.
He was shown in 8th position, a lap down when the incident occurred. Dick Bergeron is there in his pit.
Well, it may or may not have been a blown tire. He's got tire marks on the left rear quarter panel in just about the area it would take to have tire marks to cut a tire down. And when he did come in here for the pit stop, that left rear was flat. Only the safety inner liner was holding him off the racetrack.
All right, so it looks like that everything is pretty good for the Phil Parsons car now as the 2 abreast formation begins to form. Well, we're thinking about the Goodyear Eagle Driver of the Race, and we will make an award a little bit later as Goodyear will be giving $1,000 to the Winston Cup Racing Wives Association in that driver's name. We'll name that driver later in the event. Back at Rockingham, where ESPN Speed World today is televising live for you the AC Delco 500, and we in 344 laps into the race. Now, that black car there on the inside is Dale Earnhardt in car number 3, the one that's going to the inside. He is back up to 5th position, although he is a lap down, and of course Bill Elliott is also a lap down as the green comes out and Rusty Wallace hangs on to the lead. Now Terry Labonte is in 2nd, and the 3rd place car is Ricky Rudd. 4th is Davey Allison. Those 4 cars only on the lead lap.
Dale Earnhardt's, of course, in 5th place, 1 lap down. And as you said, Bill Elliott is still a lap down. He'll be trying to work his way back up there. As a result of making that pit stop, he came out behind several other cars that were 1 lap down, so that put him pretty far back in the field. The Speedway has been flooded here with phone calls as to how Rusty made it up the 2 laps that he was down. Well, he went 1 lap down when he cut a tire. And then later on, he went 2 laps down when he made an unscheduled pit stop. But later, before he stopped again, Bill Elliott and the other leaders made a pit stop, so that put Rusty only 1 lap down. And then later on, he passed Bill Elliott, put himself back in the lead lap. A caution came out, so that put him back where he's in the lead lap, and now, of course, into the lead of the race. And some of the questions also was asked, well, why was...
Ooh, close racing there between Earnhardt and Elliott as they traded a little bit of paint coming out of turn number 4. That brought the crowd to its feet. And cheers, I don't know whether it was cheers for Elliott or cheers for Earnhardt or both, but anyway, it sure brought the crowd to its feet. Let's take a look at it again.
It was Earnhardt down on the inside, Bill Elliott up on the outside. And they maybe do touch just a little bit. And of course, that was for position. That should put Bill Elliott into the 5th position. One other question while we were trying to clarify to the fans of what happened, they said that Rusty Wallace and Mark Martin started ahead of Elliott on a restart. Well, if they come out of the pits first, and that means that they're back in the lead lap, they can start ahead of the leader of the race.
2nd, 3rd, and 4th right here. The 11, Terry Labonte. The 28 of Davey Allison. And the 26 of Ricky Rudd. All of them are battling for that 2nd spot. Here comes Davey Allison on the outside. This group is being led by Dale Earnhardt, but remember, he's a lap down. Here comes Davey Allison on the outside of the track, and Davey Allison now moves into 2nd position.
Well, Allison has certainly shown a lot of muscle early in the race, and apparently he's picked that up again and ready to go racing.
It's taken Davey Allison this long to recover from that black flag he got, and he had a stop-and-go penalty. He didn't lose a full lap from it, but he's been to the back of the lead lap cars pretty much ever since then. Now he's showing some strength.
Been an up-and-down day for Dale Earnhardt. Started 13th, went to 11th, back to 15th, then to 10th at the end of 300 laps. And with 350 laps in the books, he had moved up to 5th position. So we've kind of been not talking about Earnhardt all that much, but certainly he is now in the top 5 and stands to gain quite a few Winston Cup points. But here's the battle continuing with Davey Allison now in 2nd, but the battle for that 3rd position is a good one between Terry Labonte and Ricky Rudd. There now is Rusty Wallace and Bill Elliott.
We're going to see how much strength Bill Elliott has right now. This is the first time that he's really had to run as hard as that car will go all day. He's got to try to get himself back in the lead lap. He's going to show us right now how much that Ford has, and I believe that he has something left all along.
He's got it. Look at how much he gained just in that 1 lap, man. He is really running through the turns. Still not a little bit of tire. Yeah, first time we've seen tire smoke from Bill Elliott's car. He's finally starting to smoke the rear tires.
Now this is how you get a lap back, like Rusty Wallace has done a couple of times already today. You just flat put the pedal to the metal and go after the man in front of you, and that's what Bill Elliott is doing right now.
But see, Rusty Wallace had to brake about when he lost his 2nd lap. It was under the long stretch of green that we had where all the other leaders had to come in later on and get tires, while Rusty had enough gas to stay on the racetrack and gain one of his laps back. Here, Bill Elliott had a flat tire right on the restart, so he's not at any benefit on gas, or maybe just a couple lap benefit on gasoline, so he's going to have to race to get this lap back, where Rusty Wallace did it on fuel.
And continuing to explain how you get laps back, when and if Bill passes Rusty Wallace here, and there's a yellow that comes out, the pace car picks up the leader, and therefore everybody ahead of the leader gets to encircle the track, and that's how you catch back up. And another thing, one way that you easily get a lap back in Winston Cup competition, and I think this is one of the strongest points about Winston Cup racing, this 2 abreast restart, so that the lap cars are on the inside and the faster cars on the outside. When the green comes out, you can take off from that inside position and get a lap back that way also.
It was almost made for TV, it seems like, although they weren't televising races when NASCAR first came up with this, the way of doubling up on the restarts. It really has made for a good television coverage.
Well, look at the line that Bill Elliott is running. We've already noticed some tire smoke off that car for the first time this afternoon. But he's running a much higher line now than he has the entire race. Rusty Wallace was running that line.
And trouble here going into turn 1 now. Let's see if Bill Elliott can race Rusty Wallace back to the lead. Big trouble in turn 1.
2 cars are hard into the wall.
Here comes the battle off of turn 4 between Rusty Wallace and Bill Elliott. Let's see, can he do it? And he doesn't.
No, Rusty holds him off.
No, it wasn't a smart thing to race.
Rick Wilson was one of those involved in the incident. He is okay, however. A tire blew on the number 4 car right here at the starting line. There is tires shredded all over the place here in front of us, and there is the Rick Wilson car that was damaged in the accident. He's got it going again, however, and we'll take a look at it once again. See a car going up into the wall, and a lot of damage is done to the race car. Let's go to Dr. Jerry Punch.
Was that the 5?
Oh, Rick Wilson came by us here, just crossing the start-finish line. His tire exploded in a piece of rubber laying on the racetrack right before the start-finish line there. And Rick Wilson's tire exploded. The car spun sideways and he collected another car. Here are the leaders in the pits for their pit stop. Bill Elliott is in. Elliott's crew goes to the right side of the car. We'll change all 4 tires on the Coors Ford. Rusty Wallace also will get a 4-tire change. The lead car, the Kodiak Pontiac. Critical pit stop now. Back to Bill Elliott, left side tires. Bill Elliott on the bottom of your screen, Rusty Wallace on the top of your screen. Remember, Elliott's still 1 lap down. He didn't quite get that lap back, so Elliott now is trying to be Rusty out of the pits as they head down pit road, and he won't do it.
No way. Rusty out well ahead of both Dale Earnhardt and Bill Elliott, so that pit that Rusty Wallace chose before this race began is really playing a big part.
It certainly is, and there's an example of when some of the callers that called into the Speedway here wondering how Rusty Wallace had started in front of Bill Elliott on a restart. Had Bill Elliott beat Rusty Wallace out of the pits, he could have started in front of Rusty, even though Rusty would have been leading the race.
There's the number 5 car of Jeff Bodine that was involved in the crash with Rick Wilson. That car certainly got the worst end of the crash as they get it off of the racetrack. So we are under caution period number 10 here at Rockingham with 360 laps completed. We are at Rockingham, North Carolina and North Carolina Motor Speedway for the AC Delco 500 Winston Cup race. We're glad you could join us on this Sunday afternoon. We're 361 laps into the race. Rusty Wallace has the lead. We're under caution because of an accident that occurred at the entrance to turn number 1. It involved Rick Wilson, and we're in his car right now.
And as he heads down towards turn 1, the tire blew right there. You can see the vibration in the car. You see Rick trying to turn the car, keeping it out of the wall and around, and well, he scraped the wall for a little bit and then down off of it, cutting the wheel back the other way. He is a really busy fella at this point. Reaches down and changes gears.
There's Jeff Bodine right in front of him, right through his windshield. That extra bump was when Jeff hit him from behind. There's Jeff's car, really some flames coming out of it, but Rick Wilson's trying to drive his car still.
Jeff Bodine definitely took a hard shot into the wall. This is the real time. Listen.
Boy, you could hear that tire blow.
Boy, that seemed like it lasted forever, and I'm sure it was even longer for Rick Wilson.
Yeah, it seemed, I'm sure, to him. They continue to work on his race car, though. They're going to try to keep him running.
So it isn't over yet for Rick Wilson. He sits patiently in the pit area while the crew tries to get him back out on the racetrack once again. Here are the top 10. It's Rusty Wallace, Terry Labonte, Ricky Rudd, Davey Allison, and Mike Alexander. In 6th position at the AC Delco 500. Tires have been a story all race long. There's a lot of action down there behind the Goodyear and Hoosier tire trucks. Here's Dick Berggren.
Yeah, they're buying tires, Bob, and believe it or not, that huge stack of tires we showed you at the beginning of the broadcast, Rusty Wallace has so far been through 17 sets of tires. That's 17 times 4 tires. I asked Jimmy Makar, can that possibly right? He says, yep. He says, it's just been one of those days. One of the Bodine crewmen just came by here. He had 2 tires. They've gone to the Goodyear tire truck. They're going to buy more. They want to win this thing. They don't care how much they're going to spend on tires, I'll guarantee you.
Well, when there's that much money at stake, especially when you're talking about the Winston Cup, it's well worth the expenditure.
$700 a set.
We weren't able to show you the top 5 before we went to break. They are in 6th position, Earnhardt. 7th is Elliott. 8th is Brett Bodine. 9th is Ken Schrader. And 10th is Mark Martin. 11th position is Phil Parsons. Here's the green flag. We are back to racing once again. The number 12 car of Mike Alexander is out front, but at the tail of the lead lap, as Rusty Wallace has now passed Mike Alexander as they go down the back stretch. And there's Dale Earnhardt right behind Rusty Wallace. No, make that, that is not
Yeah, that's Earnhardt, who is now moved into the 5th position.
And there's Bill Elliott right behind him. It is interesting that the 3 in contention for the Winston Cup, Wallace, Earnhardt, and Elliott, are right there together on the racetrack. Now Bill takes the high line as Dale Earnhardt drops to the low side of the track. Thought maybe there was a problem there with the Earnhardt car for a moment, but maybe not.
I think he realizes that Bill is just faster than he is today. He's going to give him racing room there, even though they're battling for the 5th position.
Well, Dale really doesn't have, if Dale Earnhardt can't catch Rusty Wallace, there's no sense in him holding up Bill Elliott. If he did feel like he could catch Rusty Wallace and get that lap back, you can bet he would be trying to do it.
Earnhardt's car hasn't been quite that strong today. I'll tell you, he's done a whale of a job of keeping it up in the top 10. He's dropped back to 6th place right now. Was on the scoreboard there for a moment in 5th place. But the way the car handled it, especially in the first half of the race, he has done a marvelous job of keeping it up there in contention as well as he has.
Look at the 11th car moving up into contention again and again. All day we've just seen him close, but not quite there.
Well, Terry Labonte in car number 11, the Budweiser Baby Ruth Chevrolet, has really performed well here this afternoon. Terry Labonte, of course, for Junior Johnson. We asked Terry, is it harder for other drivers with such a tight points battle going on for the Winston Cup?
Well, it doesn't really make any difference on us. You know, it's always tough to win races, and it's you just always do the best you can and go from there.
And that is exactly what Terry Labonte has been doing, just very consistent during the entire afternoon and keeping that car within the top 5 just about from the drop of the green flag, and he's now in 2nd spot.
Bob, there's one thing that really comes into play here this late in the afternoon. They're looking dead into the sun as they go into turn 1, and that is really a tough situation. The track is shadowed down there by the wall as the sun begins to go down, and then looking into the sun there makes it very, very tough. Now, Terry Labonte is running in the 2nd position right now, and Larry Nuber has a comment.
Well, that's something very interesting about Terry that has not come up on this broadcast is he is 4th in season points. Terry Labonte is trying to hold back the 3 Hendrick cars. Schrader, Bodine, and Walters were 5th, 6th, and 7th, but Labonte has had a very good year himself. And had it not been for the 3 other drivers who have had phenomenal seasons, Terry Labonte might be leading points. You could still get away with saying he is 1st in class, but he is a solid 4th. Dick right now is standing by with Junior Johnson, the man who's been in many of these point battles. As a matter of fact, he's won quite a few of these wars, Dick.
Well, Junior, your car has hung in there tough all day. You're running in 2nd spot right now. Can you close on the 27? Can you beat Rusty? Are there any adjustments left you haven't tried?
Well, we've tried about everything we know. We are going to adjust on it again on the next pit stop, but it don't seem to respond to adjustments like it should. So I think we're going to be
trouble in the first turn.
Now the rest of the day.
Multi-car crashing in corner number 1. There were at least 3 cars involved in what appeared to be a very serious crash in turn number 1 as 3 had very hard contact. There's Mark Martin's car number 6 that obviously was involved. He's got some extensive front end damage, and Davey Allison is another one of those involved.
Boy, there's 3
and Fred Bodine in car number 15. We can see his car sitting there, and those cars have really hit hard.
3 Fords got together in the first turn. Boy, that was a hard wreck, very hard.
We'll take a look at it once again.
Here's Earnhardt and then Labonte as we were talking, and the car got out of shape before it started into the turn, and that was the
Bodine.
4 Fords when you count Alan Kowicki there.
Was that Kowicki's car or the? Yeah, it was Alan Kowicki's car that got out of shape to begin with and just took everybody else up in it as it went into turn 1.
A lot of smoke down there, and a little bit of fire came from a couple of cars, but there doesn't appear to be any fire right now, but extensive damage to the Mark Martin car.
And the leaders in the pits once again as they work on that Mark Martin car. Here's Bill Elliott in for a change of right side tires. They'll change 4 tires. Rusty Wallace is in the pits as well. See, they already have the right side tires changed on his car. You can see Terry Labonte's car in the pits.
But watch as the cars leave the pits. The crews haven't cleaned that debris up from the first turn yet. They're going to have to really be careful when they go into that first turn not to get any debris into these new tires that they've just put on their cars. Watch, you can see the glimmering in the first turn here.
From where we are, the sun is at such an angle that we can see just all kinds of debris down there on the racetrack that could be run over by any of these cars. Mark Martin is apparently okay from his crash. There he is, already out of the crash. And earlier in the event, Jeff Bodine was involved in a rather serious crash. Let's go to the pit area for that report.
Well, a tough day for Jeffrey Bodine. And Jeff, I guess you were in the wrong place at the right time.
Well, I'm okay. I'm concerned about my brother right now. He was in that wreck. We don't know how he is, but we're going to go out there and find out. But finally got the car running halfway decent. We hadn't been running good all day, and then we get in trouble. Rick blew that tire, and I knew I shouldn't go to the outside of him, but I just couldn't get underneath him, and I couldn't stop. And I was just committed to go there, and I was hoping he'd stay low, but he came up, and boy, it was a pretty good hit into that wall. Just about destroyed the car, but we're okay. Kathy's home. I'm okay. We'll be home a little while. I'd like to tell everyone about last week, Jerry. After the race, I pulled up next to Rusty Wallace, and some things were said, like some hand gestures or something might have been going between us. I was waving at him, congratulating him. I wasn't using any ungentlemanly gestures to him, because what happened at the end of that race was just racing, a good hard racing. And I was congratulating him, and I just wanted to let everyone out there that was watching know that.
Well, thank you, Jeff. Good sportsman there. And Jeff, for a tough break today. 6th in the Winston Cup point standings. He will exit here. And Dick Bergen is standing by with a driver involved in this place of the crash. That's Mark Martin. Dick?
Well, Mark, that car is really tore up. What started the accident?
Somehow Brett got turned sideways. I'm sure that he and someone else tangled there before they got to the first turn, and there's just, in a million years, I couldn't have missed it with a Strollite Thunderbird. You know, guys have done a super job all day. We had one flat tire that got us behind, and other than that, the car was running really good. We were looking at a good, solid top 10 finish, I felt like, and there's no way to miss something like that. It just plugged the whole outside of the racetrack, and no way to get down at that speed.
Another guy who couldn't miss it was Alan Kulwicki. He was in the pits while we were doing this interview. He is now gone with serious damage to the left side of his car.
And the Strollite Ford is being pushed behind the wall, needless to say, as that car is extensively damaged. And so is the car of Davey Allison, as is the car of Brett Bodine. It's being gotten off the racetrack already, and now they're going to be able to take Davey Allison's car off the track. We'll be right back. Back at Rockingham, and this is the crash that has caused the caution period that we are now under.
As they came down the front straightaway, Brett Bodine might have got tapped from the rear there and sent his car into a spin right back out in front of Alan Kulwicki. Mark Martin was right there, and Davey Allison came into the picture as well.
So 4 Fords eliminated, or at least 3 eliminated in that crash. Alan Kulwicki was able to continue in the race, but a lot of damaged sheet metal as a result of that altercation up there in turn number 1. So it is Rusty Wallace that leads this race, and we'll try to reach Rusty on the radio. Rusty, this is Bob. You got a copy?
Yeah, Bob, go ahead.
Well, you have done it again. You've come back from 2 laps down. Do you think that you have this race in hand?
Bob, you just don't never know. The guys have worked real hard on the chassis and changed the chassis setup around, about 3 or 4 stops ago, and it appears to be working. You know, I couldn't believe we got those laps down, but we got them back, and that's the way the team's been all year long. Just keep trying real hard.
Rusty, this is Ned Jarrett. When you went back out on the racetrack after making your pit stop, there was still a lot of debris out there on the racetrack. Were you able to drive around it?
I was able to drive around a lot of it. I was concerned just a little while ago because they were blowing the debris down in the middle of the racetrack, and we were having to drive through it. I've been checking my tires back and forth. I don't feel any problems, so I guess we're okay.
Which is the strongest, you or Bill Elliott? Now, you passed him a time or two to get a lap back, and he was working on you before one of those cautions came out. Can you hold him back there?
I'm hoping so, Ned. I think I can, because that time he was working on me, I had about 15 or 20 laps on my tires, and he was on sticker tires. And the car seems to be real good right now. And Jimmy Bankard, Harold, and Barry, and all the guys, I think they've really hit it real good with the chassis right now, so that's the important thing here at Rockingham.
All right, Rusty, best of luck as we continue to watch this race unfold.
Okay, thank you very much.
Dale Earnhardt has been into the pits and now moves back onto the racetrack. You can see the track crew there in turn number 1 still trying to clean up that massive amount of debris that was a result of the 4-car crash up there in that section of the racetrack. And the Davey Allison car was one of those badly damaged in that incident. We'll be back with more live coverage right after this. Coming up here on ESPN, right after the conclusion of this Winston Cup race, we'll be taking you to Del Mar, California for the Grand Prix of Southern California IMSA race. It was scheduled to join in here on ESPN at 4:30, but obviously we're going to run over because we have a little bit more than 100 laps to go in this race. But as soon as we're done, we'll switch you there for live coverage of that final IMSA race of the year. Jerry Punch is with another one of those involved in the crash down in turn 1, Davey Allison.
Well, Davey just came out of the care center. First of all, Davey, you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine. I just want to say hi to my mom and dad back home and let them know that I'm okay, and I'll be home to see them tomorrow.
What happened up there, Davey?
I really don't remember anything. All I remember is just something happened, and then I was in the infield care center, but I'm okay now.
Okay, well, Davey took a pretty good lick up there, and so you were having a great run out there, Davey. You know, Bill Elliott's pretty strong. With you out of the race, it looks like maybe it's going to be Elliott and Rusty Wallace. Anybody else out there that can run with them?
I couldn't really tell you right now. I got other things on my mind. I just want to say hi to my mom and dad and let them know I'm okay.
Okay, Davey Allison took a pretty hard lick up there. We'll let him get back in the truck here. He's been to the care center and been checked out. He'll be headed home. I want to say hello to mom and dad. He'll be fine. See you tonight.
Got to shake you up with that kind of a hit that Davey took.
Yeah, he took a hard lick. He was the first one to hit Brett Bodine, I believe, when Brett turned sideways down there, and he really hit him head on there.
So the debris cleanup is continuing down in the first and second turns. And so we will take another break and be right back for more live action from The Rock, Rockingham, North Carolina. We'll be going green once again at North Carolina Motor Speedway on ESPN Speed World, the AC Delco 500. The field has been reformed in 2 abreast alignment. The pace car comes in, the crowd stands on its feet, and here we go with 386 laps completed, 96 laps completed, and here comes the green flag. We're racing once again.
Rusty Wallace with Terry Labonte on his back bumper as Rick Wilson comes out of the pit down on the low side of the racetrack as all the cars go by him.
Bill Elliott didn't get the jump that we were all looking for. He's falling back into the pack on that restart. You know, he was right alongside of Rusty coming off the 4th turn, headed for the green flag.
Well, he definitely didn't get a very good start when the green came out. So now Terry Labonte is positioned right behind Rusty Wallace, and Labonte, of course, in second position. Then comes Rudd and Bill Elliott. So there's the separation between first and second, as Terry Labonte may definitely have a shot at winning this race.
Well, he certainly stayed in the battle all day long. As Junior Johnson was pointing out, when that big wreck happened, they made a lot of adjustments on that car, and he said they were going to make another adjustment during their next pit stop, so they have made a pit stop since then, so we'll see how that works out for him.
There is Ricky Rudd in car number 26 and Bill Elliott in number 9, and Rudd is the 3rd place car. Elliott again trying to get his lap back, but he is in 4th place.
Only 3 cars in the lead lap now that Davey Allison is out of it.
Boy, that was a hard wreck they had in that first turn. Davey Allison and Kowicki and Brett Bodine and Martin Martin. That wall is awful hard here at Rockingham, like Jeff Bodine was saying.
Now Bill Elliott trying to move on the outside of Ricky Rudd. He knows that he has to get around him and Terry Labonte before he can get up to. Now he goes to the inside. It sort of picked him out on the outside, moved to the inside and made the pass. Very good, smart driving there by Bill Elliott.
Really hard to figure out why he got such a poor restart. You know, he's been right on the ball, and you think being a lap down, and it's the most important time to try and get a jump. He almost looked like he was asleep on the restart. Maybe there was something going on with his car, or maybe he had it in the wrong gear.
Those that are a lap down, 4th through 8th, Elliott, Earnhardt, Schrader, Alexander, and Phil Parsons. 2 laps down, 9th through 12th, is Kyle Petty, Richard Petty, Harry Gant, and Neil Bonnet. Then in 13th position, 3 laps down, is Benny Parsons. 14th, 4 laps down, is Greg Sachs. And 15th position, also 4 laps down, is Morgan Shepherd. So there's Elliott, and there is Rusty Wallace, the leader, and he has that much of a lead on Terry Labonte. All right, Terry Labonte second. Here comes Bill Elliott right behind Terry Labonte, but you can see that Wallace may be opening up a little bit of an advantage and stretching out the lead just a little bit on the second place of Terry Labonte. Now, we had a restart a few laps ago, and we mentioned that Bill Elliott didn't get a very good start. Let's replay it, Ned, and you can explain what you think happened.
Okay, as they come off of turn 4, here we see Elliott is a little bit out in front of Rusty Wallace. Now, he can't, on the restart, he can't be that way, so he had to back off momentarily, and the moment he backed off, Terry Labonte nailed it. Rusty Wallace nailed it and took off while Elliott was backing off. Rusty Wallace was in the gas, and that's what got him behind there on the restart.
And there is Wallace, while Ken Schrader has come into the pits in car number 25, and he was shown in 6th position.
I think there was a little bumping that went on right on that restart with Ken Schrader involved.
Dr. Jerry Punch is right there.
Well, apparently Kenny cut down a tire. They weren't sure which tire, so they came in there changing all 4, but he's losing a lot of valuable time, and the leaders go by again. So he will go at least 1 lap, possibly 2 laps down on the leader.
Bill Elliott has just moved around. The second place car of Terry Labonte has a good bit of distance up to Rusty Wallace. While that racing was going on back there, Rusty Wallace has simply just moved away. He is...
Boy, if that's the way Rusty Wallace pulled that restart on Bill Elliott, that's got to be the move of the day, you know, to lay back. And, you know, the rules say that the lap down cars can't beat the leader to the start-finish line on the restart. If the lap down car on the inside beats the leader to the start-finish line, he gets black flag for a stop-and-go penalty. So Bill Elliott knows that. He was up ahead. Rusty Wallace was just kind of laying back, and he really fell right into the plan there. Rusty Wallace did a real smart thing. I think that was the move of the race right there.
Well, right now, Rusty Wallace is a little more than 3 seconds ahead of Bill Elliott and seems to be moving away.
Rusty Wallace is going for 3 consecutive wins in Winston Cup competition. He's going for his 5th win of the season, and he is going for his 9th win of his career in Winston Cup competition. While we have an opportunity, let us say that we wish the best to Rod Spalding and his family. Rod was one of the NASCAR modified drivers that was badly injured in a crash last night at Rougemont, North Carolina. We hope that everything goes well for Rod Spalding.
And let's also say hello to Ken Reagan, who has moved back too. Here's Ken Reagan. Here's Ricky Rudd trying to make a move on Terry Labonte for 2nd place. Rudd moves down on the inside, and it looks like he's going to get the position as they come off the turn. He indeed does go into 2nd position. But I was about to say Ken Reagan was moved, who was injured at Charlotte, North Carolina a few weeks ago, has been moved back to Unadilla, Georgia. So Ken, we hope that everything's going well. He has multiple injuries, and also Darrell Derringer has been back in the hospital again. Darrell has cancer, and he wanted to say hello to everybody and all the people who have been so helpful to him, the crew members and the drivers and everybody who has helped him so much. And Darrell, we want to wish you the best. He is at home this weekend watching the race, and Richard Donlevy, who is the son of Judy Donlevy, who owns the car that Benny Parsons is driving, is back in the hospital again from that back injury that he got back in the spring at Bristol, Tennessee in a road accident. And Richard, we certainly wish you the best.
So there's 2nd and 3rd Ricky Rudd and Terry Labonte. The lead is held by Rusty Wallace. And in our opinion, the Goodyear Eagle driver of the race is Rusty Wallace. Goodyear will be sending a check for $1,000 in his name to the Winston Cup Racing Wives Association, from a very good driver to a very good cause. And Rusty Wallace we name as driver of the race because of his battling back, as he has done so many times in Winston Cup competition. Today he has come from 2 laps down to take the lead, and now pretty much dominating the race, at least at this portion, with just a little less than 100 laps to go. The top 10 as we go to break once again. Wallace is the leader, finishing, or rather running in 2nd is Rudd, then Labonte, Elliott, and Earnhardt. I thank you, Bob, and we'll be rejoining you just as our Winston Cup race here at Rockingham is completed. And Rusty Wallace is the leader right now, with Ricky Rudd running second, then Terry Labonte, fourth Bill Elliott, and fifth Dale Earnhardt, but Elliott and Earnhardt on both a lap down.
Richard Petty, who has run a very good race here today, has more wins at Rockingham than any other race driver. He's finally moved into the top 10, but Bob, I think he's lost a cylinder. I've been watching him in the last few laps. He's slowed. He's still out on the racetrack, but he's not running quite as fast as he did before. As Rusty Wallace now moves around the battered car of Rick Wilson. Amazing that Kodak car is still running.
If the race were to end right now, Elliott would maintain, of course, his Winston Cup points lead, and it would be 79 over Rusty Wallace instead of the 89 that we started with, and Dale Earnhardt would be 198 laps, or rather 198 points behind. Let's go to the pit area and Larry Newberg.
Well, Bob, also keep in mind, one more pit stop is required for everyone. We feel that both Rusty Wallace and Bill Elliott will be coming in about lap 475, or less than 25 laps from the finish. The others might be able to go as far as lap 480. It's interesting that the last time there was a pit stop may have saved Rusty Wallace. We have been monitoring the fuel mileage all day long, and Rusty Wallace has consistently shown the worst. He was running below 4 miles per gallon, and had the last pit stop not come when it did, he may have been in a position where he would have had to stop twice, but now all the bets are off. Everybody can make it all the distance on one more pit stop. Dick Bergman is out on the line and monitoring the situation there.
Well, Larry, I'm watching Benny Parsons, and these buttons have become one of the prized possessions of this weekend. They were passed out here from some people who thought maybe Benny Parsons was going to retire forever from racing. Benny says, well, maybe, but maybe not. He says, if I get a really great ride next year, then I'll be back and I'll be able to run. But this racetrack, in fact, is his home track. It's the one closest to home. And I'm going to tell you, there is an awful lot of support here for Benny Parsons. A lot of people who are pleased to see him running as well as he is. The team put extra effort into the car today to give him the best that they could give him for what may well be his last run at his home track, Rockingham, the track where he won his only national championship.
He's 3 laps down the field, but in 12th position, and has been running that car very well this afternoon.
He has. He's driven a good race. He hasn't had the speed to run up there with Bill Elliott and Rusty Wallace and some of those that's running up front, but he's run a very good, smart race.
It's a real tough time in the race for everybody right now. We saw from the in-car shot of from Rick Wilson's car what the sun does to you going into that first turn. Here's Rick Wilson going. Yeah, he's headed for the first turn now. Watch how his vision will change. He'll lose that car in front of him right there. You almost can't even see anything, and it gets even worse from here. The sun's still fairly high with, 80 laps to go. It's going to be tough. But you can see he's got tinted goggles on. The tinted goggles help, but nothing really takes it away. It's the windshield that is so. Yeah, there he is. He's looking in his mirror. He can probably see better behind him and wave to the guy behind him to go on by. Yeah, there's the sun on his face now. All of the drivers are going through this. It's more the pits in the windshield. The sand is being blown up from the other cars, and you're driving at 140 miles an hour. It really pits your windshield, and that's really where the glare really gets exaggerated.
Well, that's got to be very annoying to a driver when you're in your passenger car driving down the highway. You can simply reach up and pull down the sun visor when you get in a position like right here, but you can't on these Winston Cup cars.
Richard Petty does commercials for Goody's Manufacturing Company, and he says that the 2 tracks on the circuit that gives him the biggest headache is Rockingham and Atlanta, because you look into the sun at both of those racetracks, and he said that's when he really needs a Goody's.
I don't know if it's related, but the last two wrecks we've had were in this first turn, right in this blind spot.
Let's take a look at the attrition that we have had here today, with Rusty Wallace leading. Here are the cars that have dropped out of the race: Rodney Combs, Jimmy Means, Derek Cope, Eddie Bierschwale, and Joe Ruttman. Also Brad Knopfsinger, Dale Jarrett, Sterling Marlin, Darrell Waltrip, and Jeff Bodine, plus Brad T., Davey Allison, Brett Bodine, Mark Martin, and Alan Kowicki, those last 4 as a result of a crash up in turn number 1. By the way, everybody okay from that crash. And here is a couple of rookies going at it. They're vying for Rookie of the Year honors. The number 10 driven by Ken Bouchard, and the number 2 of Ernie Irvin.
There was only 8 points separating them. That's quite a battle going on for them for the Rookie of the Year honors, which is a very prestigious honor on the NASCAR Winston Cup circuit, sponsored by Champion Spark Plug and Sears.
Well, these two are racing very hard for that Rookie of the Year title. I've talked to crew members and the drivers from both these teams. They are very serious about it. You know, it not only pays a big award in New York at the banquet to be the Rookie of the Year, but it pays you for every race next year that you enter if you are the defending rookie. So there's a lot at stake between these two cars right here for the Rookie of the Year title.
Now Ernie Urban moving to the inside of Bouchard here on the front stretch. Not Bouchard able to hold him off. Urban comes right back, however, on the inside in first and second turn, and Ernie Urban makes the clean pass, but Bouchard battles back on the outside, so this is a good competition here.
Both of those drivers racing Pontiacs, and this is the first race I think that Ken Bouchard has raced a Pontiac. He's raced Fords and raced a Chevrolet a time or two the first of the year, but now they've made an announcement they will switch to Pontiacs next year, and they decided to go ahead and run one in the last few races this year.
Well, we've concentrated all day on the good battling that has gone on between Rusty Wallace and Bill Elliott and Davey Allison and some of the others, but this is just about as good a battle as we've seen this afternoon involving these two rookies on the Winston Cup Trail.
And means just about as much to them as those other battles do to the other fellows, and the leaders are not too far behind him. Here's Rusty Wallace coming up behind them as they battle for their positions. Rusty will have to pick him away to go around those two cars once he catches them, but now they're in single file. That'll make it a little easier for him.
Well, you know, look at how much more content Rusty Wallace looks. He's pulling away from Bill Elliott a little bit at a time. He's all by himself. He's leading the race. He knows Bill Elliott's a lap down. There's nothing more Rusty Wallace can do but to lead as many laps as there are left in the race and win the race and hope Bill Elliott has more and more trouble. But you don't see the tire smoke anymore from Rusty Wallace. He's pulling away, but he has been taking a little bit better care of his tires. He's not really pushing the pedal as hard as he was.
So as we wind down the laps here in the AC Delco 500, it is Rusty Wallace that is leading, and Barry Dotson and the crew continue to watch him, hoping for another win. We welcome you back to North Carolina Motor Speedway in the AC Delco 500. I'm Bob Jenkins, along with Ned Jarrett, Gary Nelson, Dick Berggren, Jerry Punch, and Larry Newber at the race, which is less than 100 laps from conclusion. Rusty Wallace is the leader. There's always some familiar faces down the pit area on race day, not only current drivers, but also drivers from the past who are now involved in another aspect of this sport. Here's Jerry Punch.
Well, you're looking at Banjo Matthews, a veteran driver and now veteran car builder. And Banjo standing here in the Budweiser pits. He's one of the best friends Junior Johnson has in the world, and they are good buddies. And Banjo, you've been building a lot of race cars over the years, probably a third, maybe a half of the field. And today you built. Now, you built primarily rear steer cars. The front two cars, both Rusty Wallace and Ricky Rudd, are front steer. But the third and fourth place cars of Labonte and Elliott, you built. They're rear steers. How about next year? Will we see more front steer cars?
Well, I think we went through that before when Bobby Allison started with the front steer car. As tires change, it makes a difference in how you do your chassis setup. I still think it'll be divided pretty good next year. A lot of people are getting more and more into putting their own cars together, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens next year.
Now, you built a lot of Fords that are in this racetrack. In fact, you built the Fords of Mark Martin, Davey Allison, Brett Bodine, and those cars were involved in that wreck. You're going to be a busy man tomorrow.
Yeah, especially when we're building them 89 cars right now, and we have to stop and repair these cars.
Well, Banjo Matthews, a veteran race driver and car builder, his shop's located up in Arden, North Carolina, up near Asheville.
Well, Jerry, his son, has pretty well taken over that operation now. Banjo still sort of oversees it, but doesn't do as much work as he used to, Jody Matthews. And I raced against Banjo when I was driving race cars. And in fact, he furnished the race car, the very last race that I ran 22 years ago today here at the North Carolina Motor Speedway. I was driving a Banjo Matthews car. We finished in third place. And I've always been thankful to Banjo for furnishing me that car, because I didn't really have a regular ride at that time because I'd announced that I was going to retire. Doesn't seem like it's been 22 years though.
More technology on pit road. Let's go over this report and Dick Berggren.
Well, Bob, most people buy an expensive digital electronic scale to keep track of how well their diet is working. But Rusty Wallace's team is using this expensive electronic digital scale to keep track of the fuel consumption in their automobile. Here's what they've been doing all day. Every time the car comes in off the racetrack, they weigh how much fuel it did not use. That tells them exactly how much fuel it did use. And so here, as we're winding down toward the end of the event, fuel mileage may become extremely critical. If we do not get a caution flag before the conclusion of this race, the team that knows their mileage best, the team that's getting the best mileage, can pick their spot in terms of making that final pit stop. Wallace may have an advantage with a little scale in his pit.
So all kinds of technology being employed here to gain a victory and to gain perhaps the Winston Cup.
Boy, that tape is used for everything in racing. Did you see all the tape they had wrapped around that scale? I mean, you look on Rusty Wallace's windshield right there. That little gray tape area, that's his sun visor. It looks like somebody slapped it on the windshield during one of the pit stops to help him get a little vision. You see that they call it duct tape, but it shows up everywhere at the racetrack.
They also call it 200-mile-an-hour tape, and it is definitely being taken through its paces in this race. Rusty Wallace continues to lead here at Rockingham, and we'll be back with more of our live coverage right after this. Back at Rockingham, and we'll show you our field summary, show you the guys that are still out there in competition. There, of course, is the leader of the race. That is Rusty Wallace in car number 27. Back of him is the number 75 car driven by Neil Bonnet. Now, Neil won this race in the spring and made it 2 in a row, but things have not gone so well today. He's currently in 10th place. Panning back now, we pick up on the number 12 car, and it's been a good run this afternoon for Mike Alexander. In car number 12, he is 2 laps down to the field, but in 6th spot. Back of him is the number 9 car of Bill Elliott and also the 34 car of Connie Saylor. Then comes the 71 machine driven by Dave Marcus. Dave involved in that tire testing that we mentioned early in the show, the radial tire testing that has gone on at Talladega.
Well, I know Dave was tired when he left Daytona because we wore him out testing all those tires, and now he had to come run a 500-mile race here.
There's Ken Schrader in car number 25. Ken is 3 laps down in 11th position, and he has had a very topsy-turvy day, having caused one of our caution periods with a spin earlier in the afternoon.
And he just came out of the pits for making what should be his last pit stop. Now coming up behind him, the next car we'll see is Ricky Rudd in the Quaker State Buick, currently running in the 2nd position. And right behind him is the rookie driver, car number 2, Ernie Urban, and Greg Sachs in car number 88, who just came out of the pits also, making his last pit stop.
Boy, Connie Saylor staying right in the middle of the picture here so far. Here comes the 4 car of Ken Schrader, the 55 car of Phil Parsons right behind the 4 car of Rick Wilson.
And he is shown in 7th position, Phil Parsons, car number 55. He also spun once earlier in the contest. The number 4 car, of course, is driven by Rick Wilson, who was involved in one of our altercations. The number 57 car will be next that we will highlight, and that is Morgan Shepherd. He is 6 laps down to the field and shown in 14th position. Back of him, the number 31 car, and that is being driven by Jim Sauter. This is the Slender U Oldsmobile that Jim is driving, car number 31. Number 30, that is Michael Waltrip, who also has had a rough day this afternoon. There's quite a bit of damage on the right side of that race car. There is Michael Waltrip. You can see the damage. Then comes Dale Earnhardt in car number 3. Dale is a lap down, shown in 5th position. The other rookie that we talked about besides Ernie Irvin is next in our list. That's the number 10 car driven by Ken Bouchard. One of the rookie contenders for Rookie of the Year honors that will be handed out at the NASCAR banquet in early December. Harry Gant in car number 33 had a problem just before the race started. Actually, they couldn't get the car started on pit road, but he's still out there in competition. Then comes the number 11 car, and that's Terry Labonte. He is 3rd and on the lead lap. The 21 car is driven by Kyle Petty. That's the Wood Brothers Ford, and he is 2 laps down in 9th position. The number 90 car is driven by Benny Parsons. He is now 3 laps down and shown in the 12th position. Benny Parsons from nearby Ellerby, North Carolina, as we see Harry Gant coming into the pits. Then comes Bobby Hillen Jr. He was involved in a crash up in corner number 4, but managed to get the car all put together again and out on the racetrack.
You know, when you see pictures of the cars, that was a good side. Well, here's another example. This is the bad side of Lake Speed's car. When he comes on around the racetrack, you'll see the good side of the car. You know, there's a lot of people that say they have a good side for photos and a bad side. That was the bad side there.
We have come full circle. There is our leader once again, Rusty Wallace. So there's an idea of the cars that are still out there in competition.
Rusty just continues to cruise around here at a very good pace, but as Gary mentioned earlier, not taking any chances. He's picking his way around the racetrack, not smoking those tires anymore like he was early in the race.
But remember, we will have at least one more pit stop for everybody before we drop the checkered flag on this race, and that could be a very pivotal point in the outcome of the event. 447 laps are in at Rockingham.
Rusty Wallace is in the pit for his final stop. He takes off with his load of fuel and 2 right side tires at 11.2. Will he beat it to the first turn, or will the 11 beat him?
I'll tell you, that was a close call for Rusty Wallace. He came storming into the pit area, and probably the
we're going to go to 26.
With sun got in his eyes, and he nearly overshot his pit. Now here it is again.
He really came in fast, and I think the sun was in his eyes. He didn't really see where they were, and he shot on by about a half a car length, but they quickly readjusted and got down there and did the service on the car.
You know, that's one of the things that the crews have learned over the years. To give that driver an escape route. You don't stand in front of the car. You know, they used to have a pit board with a man holding it, and the driver came up and actually touched the bumper against that board. Nowadays, nobody is in front of the car. The driver always has an escape route in case his brakes were to go out or he would just come in too fast.
And Gary, in the drivers' meeting this morning, they were about to do away with the pit board out on the pit road, but after some discussion, they said, okay, not many of the teams would have a pit board with a handle on it, but I believe in the near future that we'll see them stopping the car from across the wall using a pit board with a handle on it as opposed to a man standing out of the pit.
So Rusty Wallace gives up the lead, and it goes to Ricky Rudd in the Quaker State Buick car number 26. But remember, he too will need a pit stop before the conclusion of this race.
Well, I think that was the smartest thing for Rusty Wallace to do if there are no more cautions. He's got some fresh tires on the right side. He's turning laps now quicker than anybody else on the racetrack, even though he was already quicker. These guys are out there running a little bit slower, and if they stay out longer and longer, and they come in and they don't change tires, just get gas and run towards the finish, Rusty will still have made up that ground.
Now, fellas, one thing that this has done is put Bill Elliott back in the lead lap. He is in front of the leader, Ricky Rudd, and if a caution should come out now, that's going to change the whole complex of this thing.
Boy, it can change in a minute here at any racetrack, any of these Winston Cup races these days. You just can't say it's over till it is over.
And Ricky Rudd wishes it were going to end next lap, because if it did, he would have the lead. Meanwhile, Rusty Wallace, with the fresh tires, is very fast on the racetrack, but he simply is waiting to re-inherit the lead when everybody else pits.
Well, he's about to take back over second place from Terry Labonte right now, so that's how far ahead he was and how fast he's running right now. He's 13 seconds behind the leader, Ricky Rudd, but passing Terry Labonte right now for second place.
Yeah, it's always a gamble. If the caution came out right now, you know, Rusty Wallace's gamble didn't work for him, but it will help Bill Elliott. You never know what's going to happen next in a Winston Cup race.
Well, as you can see there, Rusty Wallace is clearly the fastest car on the racetrack, not that he wasn't before. And here's Ricky Rudd into the pits.
The Quaker State crew, led by Larry McReynolds, waiting for him. Here's Dick Berggren.
May well prove to be an interesting strategy for Rudd. McReynolds held up 4 fingers before this pit stop. That means a 4-tire change, not 2. Remember, Rusty Wallace took 2 tires. He's going much faster with 2 good ones. They've seen that, so they've decided, well, let's try 4 and see if we can even go faster. They're rolling the dice to win this race in Ricky Rudd's pit. They got 2 on, they got 4 on. He's gone in 23.1.
Well, you can see Ricky Rudd still running the Hoosier tires. We've seen a lot of problems with left rear Hoosier tires, so they knew they needed right side, but insurance, let's get the left sides too. Here's Elliott in the pits.
Crew going to work on the right side of that car. Only right side rubber and a fill up of fuel, and Bill Elliott goes back out onto the racetrack.
Rusty Wallace now has taken back over the lead after Ricky Rudd came into pits. Terry Labonte is still out there, but he's coming in right now. Terry Labonte coming into the pits, so that would mean all the front runners have made a pit stop. And Jerry Punch is down there where Terry Labonte is about to come in.
Well, we were 32 laps on the conclusion. There was a tire in the way, and Terry Labonte could barely get the car in. There's a tire in the left from the Phil Parsons pit stop. Labonte gets the Budweiser Chevrolet halted, and they go to work on the right side. Tim Brewer, Mike Hill, Pete Wright and the crew changing right side tires, and Labonte 11.9 seconds. He is down and away in the Budweiser Chevy.
But he stopped her a little quicker than normal because they don't have to wait to get the car full of gas. The gas, when a tank is almost empty and you got to fill it up, it takes around 13 or 14 seconds. But on this particular run, they don't need a full tank to get to the finish.
Now here's the 27 car of Rusty Wallace that is in the lead, and he's very close to lapping Labonte.
Yes, he is, about to put a lap on him, and not too far out. Ahead of them is the 26 car of Ricky Rudd, about 2 seconds or so. So Rusty Wallace is in a very, very comfortable position right now.
Boy, I bet he feels pretty good about his chances right at this point, but he knows, just like everybody else, that the same thing that got him behind earlier, got Bill Elliott behind later, could still come back. You know, after pit stops is the most likely time to pick up debris, when you're coming in on across the apron and leaving the pits and going back out across the apron.
And probably the most disheartening thing for Rusty Wallace if he wins this race, and if the race were to end right now, he would pick up only 10 points on Bill Elliott. Rusty Wallace has won 3 Winston Cup races in a row, or will have won 3 in a row if he wins here this afternoon. Yet the point spread remains at 79. So the NASCAR Winston Cup point structure is set up in such a manner that it rewards consistency as much as it does winning. And Rusty Wallace has got to feel very frustrated about how he's going to win the Winston Cup.
It's tough. You win 3 races in a row. Well, we're giving him this one already, but let's say he's won the last 2 races and in a position to win this race, and only pick up just a few points on Bill Elliott, because Bill Elliott is also so strong. You've got to win to beat Bill Elliott, and you don't gain many points because Bill Elliott's already led the most laps here at this track.
Here are the very good friends racing side by side, Rusty Wallace in 27 and Dale Earnhardt in number 3. An example of that friendship was shown earlier in the race when Dale Earnhardt radioed in that Rusty's, I believe it was left rear was going down. Rusty didn't know which one it was, but Dale radioed in and told him it was the left rear that allowed them to change tires much quickly. Here comes Dale Earnhardt in for his final pit stop. Let's go to the pit area for this call.
He apparently is going to use the same strategy as Rusty Wallace, only 2 tires. So far, Rudd is the only one that has taken 4. They're going to, however, take a look at the tires on the left side. Right side tires off already. That's Kurt Shelberdine on the right front. David Smith, the jack man. You can see there in your picture. Here's Shelberdine out. Jack down. Earnhardt on. Good pit stop.
It's just 11.1 seconds for Dale Earnhardt.
Well, you hold your breath going through that apron right there, coming in and coming out of the pits. Hope you don't pick up any debris and puncture one of your tires, especially the left side tires that are hot from, they didn't get changed. The tires that are hot have more of a chance of picking up something sharp.
We're glad you could join us here at Rockingham and North Carolina Motor Speedway for the AC Delco 500 Winston Cup race. We were supposed to be in Del Mar, California at this time to bring you live coverage of the IMSA race. We will be going there momentarily, just at the end of this race, and we are less now than 30 laps from the end, with Rusty Wallace leading here at Rockingham. Let's go down to Larry Newber.
Bob, I want to reiterate a point that Dick made, because it's pretty important. Ricky Rudd is the only driver who did take on 4 tires. You saw it cost him about 10 or 11 extra seconds in the pits. The other 3 people up front, Rusty Wallace, Terry Labonte, and Bill Elliott, each took on 2 tires. Plus, Ricky is the only driver in the top 4 with a chance of winning this race who is on Hoosier tires. They have been on Hoosier tires all weekend. They keep experimenting with the Goodyears. They wanted to use them very badly, but they've decided just to stick with the Hoosiers. And they feel that, with the possible exception of Wallace and that crew, that tires have made the difference in this race. They think that was a major factor in today's contest.
Well, Larry, one thing, taking on those 4 tires has really put Ricky Rudd to running. What we mentioned a moment ago, when he came out of the pits, Terry Labonte was right in front of Rusty Wallace. Well, since then, Terry has pulled away, but we also mentioned that less than 100 feet was this car, the number 26 of Ricky Rudd, he now has moved out to over 7 seconds in front of Rusty Wallace. So he's running at least a half a second a lap faster than Rusty Wallace it is at this time, and that's because of the new tires, 4 tires all the way around.
Yeah, right off the bat especially is when he's going to jump out there. He's got an awful lot of ground to make up and not a lot of time to do it. 4 tires, I think, given the problems that we've seen with the left rears on the Hoosier cars and the fact that, you know, you go to win anyway. Ricky Rudd didn't have much of a chance of winning just getting 2 tires. Why not get the 4 tires, do the best you can, run as hard as you can, and see if you can do something before the finish.
Only 20 more laps to go in this 500-mile race at Rockingham, North Carolina, as Rusty Wallace is on his way to his 3rd consecutive Winston Cup win. We'll be right back. Late afternoon at the Rockingham, North Carolina Motor Speedway. The AC Delco 500 being brought to you by Yamaha. We make the difference. By Unocal. NASCAR drivers count on Unocal gasolines. Go with the spirit of 76. By First Brands Corporation, makers of Prestone Advanced Formula Antifreeze. And by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will. Less than 20 to go to the finish, and Rusty Wallace is the leader of the race. And now he's beginning to close in a little bit on Terry Labonte, obviously indicating that, well, it could indicate that either Labonte is slowing down a bit or Rusty's picking up the pace.
Well, when Labonte made his pit stop later, he had on newer tires, and when he came out of the pits, he was just in front of Rusty Wallace, but then he pulled away. But now that his tires have heated up a little bit, Rusty is able to move back in. And of course, he's moving in to put a lap on him. Labonte is still running in the 3rd position, and that's the distance between he and Rusty as far as being a lap down.
Well, you know, Rusty's thinking about all of the things that everybody does when you're leading a race in the late stages. What kind of vibrations are the gauges okay? Talking to the crew, are my lap times okay? Just all of those things are going through his mind right now, because this would be a very big victory for him, especially even though you don't gain a lot of points, even though Rusty wouldn't gain a lot of points, morally winning 3 races in a row is really something that you haven't seen much of so far this season.
As a matter of fact, you haven't seen any of it. No one has won 3 races in a row. He's just on a phenomenal run.
Well, it's been a great season for him. He has had 4 wins, of course. He has had 17 top 5 finishes and 21 top 10 finishes. He won at Charlotte, he won at North Wilkesboro last weekend, and now looks to put the Rockingham AC Delco 500 into his win column also. There'll only be 2 more races after this at Phoenix and at Atlanta. We'll have coverage of both. There is Barry Dotson, the crew chief on the Kodiak Pontiac, who is waiting to see if his driver can come home. It's going to be a very rewarding victory for Barry, because you remember he blamed himself for the mistake in the pit area that cost Rusty one of his laps. So if Rusty can bring this car home, it will be a big reward for Barry Dotson.
It certainly will, and one of the crew members, Jimmy Maycar, has been awarded the $1,000 from TRW for the mechanic of the race on Rusty Wallace's car.
And let's go to Jerry Punch.
You know, a lot of the media have said that you can't win a Winston Cup championship until you've lost one. And Bill Elliott has been so close a number of times, he's lost a couple of close battles. But Rusty Wallace had never been in a Winston Cup title battle. Well, you might say he hasn't, but his crew has. When you take a look at Barry Dotson won 3 championships when he was with the Richard Petty crew back in the 1970s. Now their team manager and engine builder, Harold Elliott, won 4 Winston Cup titles when he was building motors for Junior Johnson, back when Junior had Kel Yarborough and Darrell Walton. So he's got a veteran crew. They've been in the battle many times before. The only one who hasn't been there is Rusty, and he's getting acclimated to being up front right now.
He sure is. He can just hold on for less than 10 more laps. This victory will be his.
Boy, that is so true. You can't win one until you've lost one. I've heard that said about the Oakland A's here recently, and now, the championship is the toughest thing to get. It's hard to describe in words how hard it is, race after race, to try and maintain those points. Every position could mean the difference at the end of the year. If Rusty doesn't win the championship, it looks like Bill Elliott has as strong as his car runs, something would have to happen to Bill Elliott for him to lose some more ground. But as strong as they've run, you look back on the year and they can pick out a race here, a race there, that something happened and they lost 10 points. And they could say, well, 10 points here, 10 there. Those are the races that cost us from being the point leader right now.
Well, two incidents that come to mind. Of course, the bad accident he had at Bristol before that race, and then also the accident at Richmond that knocked him out very, very early in the race. Larry Newber can comment on the variety of racetracks that Rusty has competed and done well on this year.
Yeah, Bob, you know, they say that when Bill Elliott was initially going after championships, he could only run the big tracks. Darrell Waltrip was noted most significantly for his prowess in the short tracks. But if Wallace wins here today, he completes somewhat of a cycle. It's like getting a single, double, triple to home run in baseball. He has won in the Super Speedway at Michigan, a 2-mile racetrack, the 1.5 miles at Charlotte. He's won in the 5/8 of North Wilkesboro, and now the 1-mile track here at Rockingham. So no driver has shown that much versatility, with the exception of Earnhardt last year, in quite some time.
That's a very good point. Rusty has become the total race driver.
Boy, it's so easy to give him the race, though. Let's wait 5 more laps and let's see what happens. Make sure 4 laps to go. It's going to be, if something has to happen for Rusty not to win now.
Well, he has pulled up on Terry Labonte, but he's made no attempt to pass him whatsoever. His crew has told him, say, hey, cool it. You got about an 18-second lead over Ricky Rudd, who's running in second place. He's gaining on you, but you got plenty of time. Don't blow it. Cool it.
And there is the third place car right ahead of Rusty. That's Terry Labonte. He is in third. Fourth position is Bill Elliott, and fifth is Dale Earnhardt. That's the way they're running right now. Bill Elliott has led 14 races in a row. He led earlier today. Now Rusty Wallace has led 8 of those 14, but he has lost 30 points to Elliott.
Boy, he's running flat out today. In today's environment, you've got to run flat out. Rusty Wallace has proven that he's running flat out. Bill Elliott has been running flat out. Dale Earnhardt has been running flat out. All 3 of these guys that are in contention for the championship have done it by racing. Nobody's backing into this one this year. Whoever the champion ends up being at the end of the year will have earned it definitely.
The white flag is out from Harold Kinder, and Rusty Wallace now has less than a lap to go before winning the AC Delco 500 here at Rockingham. The car comes out of corner number 2 down the backstretch, staying behind the third place car, number 11 of Terry Labonte. In the third and fourth corners for the final time, Rusty keeps the car low on the racetrack. Off of corner number 4. Here comes the checkered flag, and Rusty Wallace has won here at Rockingham.
What a day it was for him. I'll tell you, it's just unbelievable that the winning 3 races in a row, and each time have fought back from being at least 2 laps down.
The saga continues for Rusty Wallace. What a battler he is when times get tough, as it has happened the last 2 or 3 races in a row. Rusty battles back from being laps down and wins the race. And so it is again here at Rockingham this afternoon.